Okay, I'll share my screen first. Then let's start. You're able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, fine. My voice and everything is clear, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
Fine. Thanks. Thanks for confirming. So today, what we are looking into is about the clean coding. So what is basically clean coding? All those stuff we'll be looking into. What is the importance of clean coding, etc. So we'll come into this somewhere an exciting topic, but it requires a lot of effort. It's easier to say, but it requires a lot of efforts from your side also. So this is just basically a start of the design course. Last class, we have discussed on the object-oriented designs, concepts, etc., which actually lay the foundation for this entire course. But from here on, we are taking into various design concepts, like design principles. There are a lot of design principles are there. There are some concepts called solid principles, then comes into design patterns, and we will end up with some other little bit add-on things also. But before going into all those design principles or design patterns, first what we require is that we need to understand why we need to have this kind of design patterns, or why we require a clean coding concepts. So how we code, we need to just re-look into how we are coding right now, and see some pitfalls in those things, or the areas that we can improve out there. So that is the main agenda for this class. And this class, more it will be more like a theory. I'm not going into more into the coding part. So it will be more into theory part. But your interaction is very much important out here, because this goes with a lot of interactions from your side also. So I hope things are clear. Let's move into the sessions. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, the agenda is this thing. So first we will discuss the importance of clean coding, and then we'll have the characteristics of clean coding. What are the characteristics of clean coding? Then we will see what are the code smells, and let's look into more how we can do more into coding. We will bit on the meaningful names, comments, what to do with the formatting, indentations from the functions, classes, etc., and a little bit on the exception handling. Then we will go into the large part of smells and heuristics. Okay, so what is clean coding? Can you anybody elaborate or can put your thoughts on what is clean coding? So I said it's based on interaction. So what do you mean by clean code? You can just put across your thoughts.
Means understandable, means readable code for the future reference also, and for when read by some other developer also, it should be understandable.
Okay, so Ashwin says that it's a readable thing, and it's in future also some other developers reads that code, that should be understandable by them, right? Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Code without ambiguity and confusion.
Code with ambiguity and confusion. Okay. Fine. Yes.
Can we consider less bugs or no bugs as clean code?
Okay, just put across the thought. We'll come more details into the clean code thing. So whatever the thoughts that comes into your mind, we can put it across. So Ashwin says that it should be understandable with in future for other developers also. And as Sangamesh said, it's more like there is no ambiguity or less bugs, right? That's what your points.
Yeah, no ambiguity or confusion, and then 0 bugs or no bugs.
Yeah, those are valid points. And anybody else? Just come on, just put across your thoughts. Hello, Punnu. John, Parvati, Robin, Shiv Prasad, please have make it more interactive so that it will be better for you also, rather than some kind of passive listening. That will definitely help. Anybody there? Just log in and
Sir,
yeah.
sir, a code which is tested success.
Okay, code which is tested success. That's what John says. Okay. Anything else?
Easy to understand.
Easy to understand. Okay. Okay, fine. Some of the valid points I got. Punnu, anything from your side? You have that experience?
Actually, I'm having a network issue. I'm losing my connection between 2-3 times.
Yeah. So just tell it. Yeah. Ashwin?
Code which is made into modules and interdependent, like that.
What does it?
What do you mean scalability?
Sorry.
I think he means scalable code or reusable code.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Yeah. Punnu?
Okay, clean code, which refers to me when I say it's like, so we can code in 5-3 lines, okay? We can code in 2 lines. So clean code means you're writing the code up to the requirement, not extra lines or something. It is into the key point and key coding, maximum optimization and cleaning the code.
Okay.
Can we also say that it meets the industry standards or coding standards set by the industry?
CMMI level 5 standard.
Yeah, so industry standards, it's what you said, more understandable code. Okay, fine, fair points. I got a lot of points from your side. So you are aware about what is basically clean code. So we'll look into the first and foremost thing for a clean code is to understand this statement. See, it compels. A code that compels doesn't mean that it is a clean code, right? So some codes you take, it compiles and it do what it intends to do, right? So I write a code for calculating, say some kind of Fibonacci series. I want to run it through. So I wrote a code and that compiles well also, and that runs also. That doesn't mean that that is a clean code. Okay, it does its part, but that doesn't mean that it's a clean code. So what else we require? So we require that code should be readable. Okay, so basically the code should be a readable code. We'll see what is readability and how we will improve that readability and all those things. Every time you took a code, that should be readable. A lot of components are coming in. It's very plain, simple terms where I can tell that some kind of code is readable, but this requires a lot of other effort also. So I would say a code that is basically readable. Okay, now it comes into another factor is that it is maintainable. Okay, so maintainability is also another factor. So the code should be readable and the code should be maintainable. Some echo is coming your end, or my voice is clear? I'm getting some.
It's clear, sir. It's clear, sir.
Pardon?
It's clear, complete. I mean, there's very light echo, but we don't find it. We cannot notice it as such.
Okay. Just a minute. I'm getting some echo. That's what I'm also thinking. Okay, because I'm using external mic and speakers, all those things. So don't know whether this is a problem. If any echo is coming and or any noise is coming, just tell me so that I will check it out. So so the code actually is which not only just compiles but also what intended to do. So just as I said, a code that you got which may be compiling and which may be doing what it is intended to do, but also it also has that readability. I'm not telling that the first part is not important. That is also important, because that's what the other people, the outside people, are going to see. Whether this is running, compiling, running, whether this is working as is expected. Okay, but this is particularly for internal people. I'm not looking into the external part of you. I'm looking into the internal part of you. So if you look into the internal things, this also has to be readable, and this also has to be maintainable. Plus, this also has to be extendable. So three things are there. One is readable, one is maintainable, and one is extendable. Okay. So what is readability? What is maintainability? What is extendability? It is very easy to say, but it have a lot of other implications, or it will not come naturally. We have to do a lot of things from our own end to ensure that this is done. Okay. So why we need to maintain a clean code? Why we need to maintain a clean code? So that is a question that coming into us. Okay.
So one second. What do you mean by extendable?
Sorry, extendable in the sense that you need to modify your code, right? You need to extend the functionality in future. It's not like you write a code once and then you never go and change it, right?
Yes.
The customer will add more functionality to it. The customer will ask for more functionalities, or more in the terms of they need some kind of behavioral changes to that code. So you need to extend that code. I would saying the extent instead of modify, because of some reasons that you will understand maybe in next classes or something, why we are telling extendable instead of modifiable. Okay. So extension means I'm extending my features, or I am extending as of now some kind of part of the program to accommodate new changes or behaviors. So that's what the extendable means. Okay, so if your code is not extendable, I would say that is not a clean code. Clear?
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So why we need to maintain such a clean code? Say that the code that is readable, the code that is maintainable, the code that is extendable. Why we need to maintain such a clean code? Is there anything from your own experience that you can tell? So you know what is a clean code, at least on abstract level, what is a clean code? But just can you tell from your experience why we need to maintain such kind of a clean code?
I think cleaner the code, debugging will be very easy.
Okay, debugging will be very easy. Fine. Anything else? Ponu, anything from your side? Because Ponnu, Ashwin, you people have extensively worked on different codes also, maybe till this time. So you will have some kind of idea.
Less failures, because recently, not 2 months before, there was a material management portal. It was working very fine with material creation, but there was some issue happening. So, some of the people were adding depot, and sometimes it is not getting populated. Which all the depots, the selected depots, were not getting populated. So when I look into the code, actually the code will work sometimes, but it is not a clean code. It won't work in some other times. So we cannot say it's a clean code. So I recorded it. So definitely clean code means it doesn't give you a bug or something. It will work as it is intended to do.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else, Ashwin?
You can also, add this knowledge transfer thing, wherein if a new team member comes in, there's no need to handhold him and explain everything. He can understand, read the code and understand, and be a participative member rather than a learning member in the team.
Yeah.
So
That's also true. Yeah.
And then, as you said, in the clean code thing, you can always, it will be very easy to extend new functionality, new modules, or even if the process gets extended, like some additional approvals, some, like she was telling, right, some depot needs to be added and all those things. So such things also will become very easy and clean. I mean, there's hardly, you will not have multiple behaviors of the same code if it is clean.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So basically, see, if you write a source code, so you are all people are writing source code day by day. So what is the purpose of writing a source code? Everybody will agree to that. We are writing the source code to meet some kind of business requirements, right? So some kind of business requirements that you want to meet, so that you are writing code. So somebody comes and asks something need to be added, some new module, new functionalities need to be added, or something extra need to be created, extended, whatever the things that you yourself will have to do a lot of codings in your day-to-day life, right? So you are doing a lot of codes, but for whom you are writing the code? Obviously, the first thing is that you are writing for compiling the code and running it in the production system, wherever it is, whether it is in the client side, whether it is in the cloud, wherever it is, you are writing the code for that. But is that only the purpose that we are writing the code? No, because so why we are writing a source code? We want to communicate more with our peers in the sense that our core developers or our senior developers or our junior developers who is still with us in the company, or who may have been joining. They are not yet to join in our company. So like Sangamesh said, some new team members coming, they also want to read this code, understand the things. So a lot of these things are going into our mind. Like when we are writing the source code, we are communicating with our peers than to a computer. So why I am telling like that is that, so if you look into say if you recollect the history of programming languages, you know what machine understands, what kind of language machine understands? Anybody?
Programming, I mean, zeros and ones only.
Yeah, zeros and ones only. So what we call that, zeros and ones, basically?
Machine level language or something.
Yeah, machine language, right? So basically, computer understands machine language only. Okay, you can write a program with zeros and ones also and do the same stuff as you are doing right now. That is also possible because machine understands that well, but it is hard for human beings to understand and maintain it, right? You may be able to write some kind of codes using, I have not done that thing, to be honest, but if you are able to do it, some kind of, even it's a simple program, you took all the pain, you write some kind of codes, you finally are able to success to run it in the machine and get the output you have to say. That also can be done. But what is the problem there? Okay, in sometimes after some other developers joins you and they struggle to find to cope with that thing, or you yourself will be in struggle in future also. I bet that even without this assembly languages, the high level languages that you are writing right now, sometimes you feel like that also. So you have written something some past 3 months, past 6 months, and now you are taking it for some kind of addition. Maybe you are doing it some future you are adding to that particular code. Then you are thinking, what is the logic of this thing? right? I have also done these things in my programming career, because this is normal to everybody, right? This is very, very normal to everybody, saying that every time actually we write code, sometimes we do it in a way that we never know what we have really intended to do that with that code. Okay, that happens almost to everybody, to all the programmers here. I think you may not be an exception. If you are exception, that's well and good. Okay, so you want to write a source code basically to communicate more to our peers than to our computer. So whenever you are writing a code, please make sure that you are writing your code just not for the computer alone to just compile it and give you some output, but because this code you need to maintain it for you or your peers. That's what we clearly say. It may be you or it may be somebody else in the organization. Okay, so they have to maintain this particular code. Okay, you also face the similar things. So whenever you move to one project to another project, or one company to another company, you will end up this kind of situations, right? You are going to read others' code also, understand the things, then you want to change it, right? So whenever you are writing codes, make sure that you communicate with your peers, future or past or present or whoever it is. We don't know. Okay, so that's what we need to maintain, a clean code. Okay, so as I said, a computer can take any ugly code and till it compiles, till it runs, computer doesn't have any issues, but humans cannot. That is a real problem for us. That's why we have invented a lot of high level languages also, like we looking into maybe English level kind of languages. There are some languages like where you can write more like an English sentence. Okay, then that is also not succeeded. So we come into some kind of things that we know it is easy for us to understand all those things. So we created a language for ourselves. Then some compilers actually that will compile that into kind of machine language which system understands. So we abstracted that kind of issues from ours to these compilers. So we are not more worried about how that system works, which memory it uses, and all those things. Currently, our job is to focus on all the business requirements. So how much you are coming into that terms. Okay, that's what it is going to be maintainable. It is very hard for even if you look into the forget about the machine language. There was a language called still it is there. There is a language called what do you say, assembly language. So some of you may have heard about this assembly language. Some of you may have written something in that assembly language. So that's also very hard. It's very hard to maintain also. So that's why we move into low level languages to high level languages. So you make sure that the clean code concept is that you are not just writing code just to compile and run it, but to ensure that you are maintaining a code actually which is more readable to your developers, more readable to your co-workers, or even senior developers, or whoever it is. In future also somebody comes and reads your code, or you are going to maintain some other's code. So you have to make sure that this clean code characteristics exist in your this thing. So we'll look into what are those characteristics of a clean code. So first and foremost thing is that it should be highly readable. Okay, so what is highly readable in this sense that, see, readability means that how you are making something readable. So you are reading books, right? A lot of books you are reading, or even you take a newspaper also. So instead of they are just dumping all the news or all the headings into one line, or maybe in different things, they are putting paragraphs, they are dividing into pages, they are formatting very well, right? So it is very easy for your reads also, even the spacing between the characters, or even the lines between these things. So even if you look into this also, so these things are, if I can arrange it in a more way, because I can add more spaces into it, I can add big letters, I can do some kind of fonts there. Even we are not worried about the fonts and all those things right now, but still I'm making it sure that the code that should be readable. Okay, so for anybody, if you give me a code that works very well actually, but it's not readable, then it's of no use actually. It's working right now, but if you ask me to do some kind of modification in that code, I'm gone because I am not able to read it, right? But if you give me something very near to working but not working, but that is very neatly written, well written, highly readable, then it will be easy for me to make it work, because I can read through, I can understand the code, I can test it out, and I can even do some changes and make it work. So that's what basically all the developers prefer. I think you also will be like that. Okay, and the second characteristics is that it follows the coding standards. Okay, we will come into detail about what is the coding standards, what are the standards that we need to follow when we are doing coding standards. So it should be following coding standards also. So if you look into every field of engineering, okay, there is a specific set of rules and procedures to be followed. We may sometimes call it as SOPs. I think somebody knows SOP. What is heard about SOP? I think Sangamish definitely will have.
Yeah, standard operating procedures.
Yeah, standard operating procedures. So everything will comes with some kind of standard operating procedures. So why we require standard operating procedures? You need to make sure that he is following certain standards. So if you go to a bank and give a check for redemption, or you give a check for getting it credited to our account, okay, so whoever the clerk or the cashier sitting at the bank have a SOP. Okay, so he will definitely have an SOP. Instead just looking into the check and he's passing through, he'll definitely have an SOP. He look into the bank, whether that account balance is there, whether the signature is correct, etc., etc. There are kind of SOPs are there. So the world is driven through these kind of SOPs, because these are regular routine works that you are doing, which should follow some kind of standards. So if you look into every engineering, even you took the civil engineering, electric engineering, everywhere this kind of standards are there. So these standards are very important that you need to follow it. So this is written for some specific purposes. If you are not following that standard, then that is a problem for you and your organizations and your clients, etc. So one thing you have to make sure that you have to follow the standards, and definitely the engineering or coding is also definitely have some kind of standards which is called coding standards, and coding standards are a little bit different into different languages also, that we will be looking into, but there are some standards that we need to follow. Okay, and on top of that, there are naming conventions. So how you name it, what kind of naming conventions that we use, that also we will be looking into. So these are the things that every developer has to follow. Okay, so it is very easy for us to maintain that code, and it is very easy for us to extend the code, because we know what that particular developer has written, because he is following a particular standard in the company. So this coding standard may differ from company to company, language to language, etc. Language in the sense that programming language, a C# language may not be same coding standard as of a Java language or a C language, or even if you look into the Angular, Flutter, or what kind of languages you take, there will be some kind of standards. Okay, so the next characteristics is that proper indentation. I need not explain it more to you, because you know what the importance of indentation when you are reading a book. If you take a book, if you take a novel, etc., and you trying to start reading it, you know, if the indentation is not there or it's not well formatted, it's very hard to read, right? Okay, so these things we will discuss in later in this course itself. Indentation and all those things, but the summary is that it should be well formatted and well intended, so which gives us a pleasing effect. So in all our IDEs that you may be using IntelliJ IDEA or Visual Studio or whatever the kind of language IDEs that you are using, every IDE provides this automatic kind of indentation and formatting. So you just need to press some kind of hotkeys out there. So that will properly indent your code so that it is easy to read. So this is not you need to do the tab and all those things. Those eras are gone actually. So currently those things are IDEs are taking care, but you need to make sure that once you make sure that the code is there, you try to indent it. Okay, I used to do that practice every time, because before committing or even before starting working, if I take somebody else's, it may not be well formatted, so I'll try to format it first. Okay, then properly used comments. We'll come into the command sections and all those things. So basically the question is that some of the questions we want to ask: when to comment, when not to comment, and what to comment. Okay, these are very, very important questions for us. So anybody following any comments kind of history? Comments or your view thoughts on comments. So we'll come into those comments part a little bit later, but just I need to have your thoughts on the comments part.
Yes, sir. Actually,
Yeah, tell. Who's telling? Punu?
When I do comments, mostly what I do.
Your voice, I'm not. Can you just come a little bit closer to my call?
Hello, can you hear me now?
Yeah, tell.
So when I do a comment, it is mostly I will do comment on the business logic, which is something complex, which cannot be understood from the code easily. So what I did is I put a comment, I have skipped this part because of this, or the user has requested this, so we are doing it in the code. So so one can look into the code and understand that the coder which developed this has skipped this entry because the requirement was not. So he'll be able to understand. And also I put a comment at the beginning of the API, for which the API is used for, what is the return parameters, what is the parameter into the API, also I added.
Okay, fine.
But I don't know what you meant by what not to comment.
Okay. We'll come into that. We'll come into those things. We'll detailedly discuss about those parts also. But before that, I just want to have your thoughts process on that thing.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Who else was telling? Ashwin or somebody?
yeah, actually, this is a habit I picked up from JFL team. I think they used to put comment everywhere. Okay, there is never enough comment for them. So this is a habit that I picked up from JFL team. Now when I write code, I try to add comments everywhere. Okay, even when declaring a variable, the purpose of the variable itself will be written near to it.
Okay.
Punu said, I don't know when not to comment.
Okay, that will come into. Okay. Okay. So
in my opinion,
yeah,
commenting is done by a programmer to explain what he's doing in a simple language.
Okay.
And commenting, basically the guidelines could be that you write you write your program in a sequence. It does some steps in your program. So if you can put the headings that what step it is accomplishing and how you're doing it, there could be one problem can be solved with multiple solutions. You've chosen that can be explained. And one more thing is that some third party who is reading, if you think that this may not be assumed or it may not be understood by them, a special instructions or explanation can be passed, maybe within a function or outside of as a command.
Okay.
And probably you should not be like even when you write a comment, it should not be like too much of explanation. Simple and it should be there. That's what I know what commenting is all about.
Okay, fine. Okay. Then any more thoughts?
You're asking me?
Yeah, no, just to the group also. Anybody else have any thoughts on that, on the commenting part? I think Manchu and Akhil is not there, right? Okay, Manchu, Akhil, Ashwati, those people are missing today. Fine. So that anybody from other people, John, Parvati, Just to have your thoughts. We'll come into this detail, don't worry. Okay, so I'm just going to the next thing because maybe those people may not have that much exposure to add it. Fine. So this is also will come into detail. So what we say that some kind of thing that these things, we are slowly coming into the design principles also. So there is something called a single responsibility for class. Okay, this we'll discuss a little bit detail also in this and next coming classes also. So single responsibility is one of the most repeated rules in software industry. Okay, this has been everybody is telling about this single responsibility. There is a principle also which is called single responsibility principle, or SRP principle, which is a first thing in the solid principles. So solid principles and all those things that we will be covering in next session. But this SRP, or single responsibility principle, says that there should be one single responsibility. Okay, so this means that every class we define, so a lot of classes that we are defining, that should have been only one and only one purpose, responsibility. We'll see that what is this responsibility. We'll cover these details in some kind of next lectures also. We'll just give you some glimpse today, but we will discuss this more in details in next classes. So clean coding is basically a continuation. We need to apply a lot of design principles also to make sure that this is not just a writing and formatting and all those things. A lot of thought processes are going into how to make this software maintainable, extendable, etc. And that brings the best practices, best kind of designs to make sure that your code is basically maintainable. So there are a lot of things we need to cover it up. So just make sure that you understand, you grasp these things. Even if you are not fully gone into the details, we'll come across all those details in next lectures. Okay. And the other thing is that small methods. So classes also, the methods, like we said, classes also, method also should have been one responsibility. We'll see what is this responsibility and what do you mean by responsibility, all those things. Okay. And the other thing is that make these methods very smaller also. Okay. That is also a very important factor. So some other characters are well-written exceptions. So exceptions should be well-written, and low coupling and high cohesion. This also we will discuss in next classes. What is coupling? Because this requires some kind of explanations. Maybe you have read, or you may have studied in your degree or your MC or whatever the thing that you have done in computer engineering. So somewhere you have learned this in maybe in system design, or maybe in software architecture or software engineering kind of papers. You may have studied this, what is low coupling and high cohesion, but don't worry, we'll come across all those factors also. May not be on this thing. Next class we are covering a lot of design principles. So there we will be discussing what is this low coupling and high cohesion. Okay, not over engineer it. That is also another things. That is also somewhere we have seen it's, you think it so much and you over engineer it, so it becomes very hard that it is going to be the extendable things. And good implementation of design patterns. So these are all these kind of engineering design principles, design patterns, which are also we are covering in next few sessions. So these all factors are very, very important. Okay, so these are the other characters. So we just gone through some kind of characters in that thing. Lot of readability, lot of maintainability, etc. Okay, now I think anybody heard about this man, Martin Fowler is anybody heard about this? No? Yeah, if you can tell no also, that's fine, because I will get a response.
I think I have a familiarity with this name, but cannot associate with where and how.
He has written some very good books also on refactoring, patterns of enterprise architecture. He conducted a lot of seminars also. So he's a well-known figure in software industry. In YouTube also you can, he is having some dedicated website also. I don't know whether that is martinfowler.com or something, or he have a lot of various he is taking about this architectures, refactoring. So code smells is one of the things that he's introduced in his one of books calling the refactoring. Okay, so code smells, what is means by code smell? So because what he defines the code smell is that code smells are the symptoms of poor design and implementation choices. So we say that something is bad smell is coming out. It's not actual smell actually. There is a bad smell in the system, right? Some bad smells of the bureaucracy, something we'll say. So this means that it's actually not smell is coming out, but there are something gone very rotten or very bad in that code. Okay, so that's what he is looking into. So when we are going for a refactoring, you know what do you mean by refactoring, right? Refactoring may be redesigning, re-engineering, rewriting your application. Sometimes you have to do, because you cannot avoid the refactoring kind of things, because if you look into the software, it's always evolving. Okay, whenever you took one particular requirement today, you do some kind of applications. Next time, client may come and ask for a different things to be incorporated into your system. So you have to do the refactoring kind of things. But where to refactor? And you feel sometimes that it's just forget about the client requirement, that it goes changes over a time, etc. Just forget about that. So just concentrate on that. You want to maintain the code. So over a time, you feel that your code is not maintainable. It becomes so large. So somewhere I need to rewrite these things. Like Punu said in that thing, somewhere if I want to maintain it, I think that I want to rewrite it. So these kind of refactoring comes. So he was thinking when to refactor, when we will start our refactoring, or what is actually you say the sign that we need to do the refactoring. So that's where he defining the code smells. Okay, if there are some code smells, it's a time that you need and go the refactoring your code. Okay, so that's why he defined this kind of code smells also, and we'll slowly come into this kind of code smells. Okay, so first of all, before coming into this kind of code smells, let's see namings. Okay, meaningful names. So all of us have some kind of beautiful names with some kind of meaning into it. So we'll always love the names that having some kind of meanings, some kind of thing. So it's same as in software industry also. Okay, so wherever we are giving the names, we are giving a lot of names, right?
Yes.
Can you tell where we are giving some names?
Defining all variables, function names, classes.
Function names, classes, tables, lot of places, right? Files. So a lot of places, what we are doing is that we are giving names. Okay, so do we need any kind of thought process on giving names? So are we following any kind of thought process on giving names, or we are just giving some names that comes into our mind at that point of time? Okay, so that's what we have to look into. So what is a meaningful name? Okay, the first and foremost thing in the meaningful name is that use intention revealing names. What do you mean by intention revealing names? What is intention?
What it is expected to do.
Yeah, so what is expected to do? What is the intent of that particular object? Whether the object in the sense that it's not a class and object in object oriented thing, whether this is a variable, as we said, whether this is a method, or whether this is something like a classes or something like that. I should get what is the intent of that particular object. Okay, just seeing the name. So that is a first and foremost thing. You give the intention revealing names. Okay, so the name of the variable, function, or class should answer all your big questions. It should tell you why it exists, why that variable exists, what it does, and how it used. If the name requires a comment, then name does not reveal its intent. Ashwin, clear?
Yes, sir.
So everywhere, if you are commenting it out, that will come into the commenting point. So even if for a variable name also, if you are commenting it out, that means two things. One is that either your name doesn't reveal the intent, or you are just doing redundant comments. Okay, so just let me know what the following name reveals. I just hide that comment part. I will show it across.
It doesn't reveal anything.
Can anybody tell, just seeing this one, whether you can assume what it does?
It's just a collection of some integer, or it is just an integer.
Yeah, it's an integer. It's an integer variable, which is named D, right? So just looking into this thing, you answer these questions: why it exists, what it does, and how it is used.
Probably God knows is the best answer.
that is the point that we are coming into. Okay, so what the developer actually intended is, it's a elapsed time in days. He commented also very beautifully. He commented int d, and he put a comment like elapsed time in days. Okay, now it's more clear, right?
Yeah.
How much elapsed time, maybe from an event, how much time has elapsed. That is also in days.
Basically, it looks like aging kind of thing.
Kind of aging kind of things. Right, absolutely right. Aging in the terms of days, right? But our problem is that just seeing this D everywhere, how a developer ensures that this is elapsed time in days? It's very difficult. Okay, from here I put a command. Then what happens is that in the next thing, a lot of places this D maybe have been used, right? So how a developer at that point of time knows that whether this is what this actually D means? He may have forgotten, because a lot of variables will be there. This may not be the only the variable. Okay, so the name D reveals nothing. It does not evoke a sense of elapsed time also, nor of days. Whether it's elapsed time. Time means time can be checked in a lot of ways, like a lot of units, days, months, hours, seconds, etc. Okay, so we don't know whether this is an elapsed time. Forget about times, forget about the days. Okay, we should choose a name that specifies what being measured and unit of that measurement. So better things like you can give according to your things, elapsed time in days. You can give a variable name like this, or days since creation, days since modification. So it's up according to your thing. Or file agent days. So a file is created. I want to say how much days before it's created. You want to create a variable. So make sure that your names actually revealing the intent of that particular variable. Don't just give that like a T or kind of things, which actually revealing nothing. Right. So best way is to make sure that your names, instead of commenting it out what it actually does, you make sure that you just give that variable a specific and meaningful name. So these are the meaningful names I can give. Elapsed time in days, I know this is the elapsed time, or I want to know how many days have been after this creation. So days since creation, I know these are the this variable holds it. So looking into that particular variable name, we can tell what is the purpose of that particular variable, right? So this one way you have to ensure that you are using some kind of meaningful names. Clear? Any doubt on this part?
Clear.
Yeah.
We have a length constraint while we name.
I'm not, I don't know, it's my problem or something. I'm not able to fully understand. Or Sangamesh, you are able to hear?
Uno's voice is not clear. I mean, it's
One
very.
second, I disconnect from the speaker.
Very, very feeble actually. It's not clarity issue.
No, for me, it was a clarity issue actually. Otherwise, it is loud for me.
Okay, for me, it's a loudness issue.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, better.
Okay. So
Yeah.
what I was asking is there any length constraints while we giving meaningful names?
Basically, no, as of now. Okay. So there are length constraints, but we are need not go into that much things, because earlier there were a lot of restrictions on this variable names length, because the compiler doesn't know how to compiler have a lot of restrictions. But gone are the eras like we are using small computers where the memory is a constraint. Currently the memory is not a big constraint, other than very few specific use case scenarios, but otherwise you can give these kind of names. So these kind of names will be definitely compile it. So even for a large name also, but there is a limitation actually, not just on the compiler side but on the programmer side. You need not give too much large names also. So somewhere you want to find it out a name which is not too short to understand and not too long to understand.
If it becomes like a sentence as a name,
then it will be difficult for us. So we don't know whether this is a variable or a sentence or a paragraph, what it actually is. So that's you have to choose. That's your capability of choosing these names. But don't choose like a D, I, J, K, etc. that we are choosing. That will become very problematic for us.
actually, see, there are some people I've seen. In case of days since modification, right? Some people may write days sin mod.
Yeah, those also will come into. Okay, we'll look into those factors also. So that's what I said. There are a lot of things that a lot of thought processors has gone through on this clean coding, all other stuffs also. So this also we'll look into.
Okay.
Days in mod. Say I'm using some kind of abbreviations. What will happen, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And avoid disinformation. So avoid disinformation in the sense that see I gave a variable like account list. Okay, it's not actually list, but I have given like an account list. So unless otherwise it's a list, even if that part also I will come into. There is a concept called Hungarian notations. I don't know whether so many people have been, maybe you have used it, but maybe unknowingly. But knowingly, I don't know how many people have used this Hungarian notation. But unless otherwise this is a list, don't use the kind like account list. Even if it is a list, I would say don't use this kind of things. Okay, so the word list means as something specific to programmers. As soon as I say list to a programmer, okay, because these codes are read by the developers only, and nobody in the business comes and read your code unless otherwise they're that much tech savvy. So these codes are basically read by our fellow programmers. So once they see this list, they means that this is kind of some kind of array list, some kind of list that is there in the as a structure or something like that. So if it is not actually list, it will lead into disinformation. This is not basically an information, this is a disinformation. So instead you can use the names like that, account group or bunch of accounts or account groups or whatever it is that you can use. Okay. Then beware of using names which vary in small ways. Okay, so I have used something like this. How much time will you take for this to identify these two things? The difference is very subtle, right? Instead of I say XYZ controller for efficient handling of strings, here I say XYZ controller for efficient storage of strings. So the difference comes here, the storage and handling. But it is very hard to recognize, right? So this may be you may see that we are not going to do like this, but I have seen a lot of other areas also we have used this kind of namings which may differ in one letter or one small things, and this makes a lot of confusions. And by that confusions, programmers do a lot of mistakes, and a lot of our time also wasted on that part. Okay, so frightfully similar shapes, that's what he is telling. Okay, and another thing is that lowercase l, so you use lowercase l and lowercase or uppercase o. Okay, so what it is read like that?
1 and 0.
1 and 0, right? So this looks like a 1 and 0. I don't know whether this is an L or 1, or this is a 0 or O, right? So avoid these kind of disinformations, right? So that's what we say, don't use these things. So entirely, like you see these things, it's hard whether this I am assigning with a equal to 1, o equal to 0. So if you do programming like this, it's very hard actually to understand out there. So avoid these kind of disinformation kind of variables names that you are using. Okay, so this is one particular thing, and make meaningful distinctions. So we ourselves as a programmers create a lot of problems for ourselves when we write code solely to satisfy compiler or interpreter. That's what I said in the things also. We want to satisfy compiler. Okay, compiler will satisfy if it is a distinct name, right? But it may not be a meaningful distinction to a programmer. Okay, for example, because you can use the same name, because somebody has used a name something like say something like 0. Okay, this is already used. Suppose I have created something, this just for an example, I cannot use this 0. Then what I will do, I like this 0, right? Compiler will be happy. Why? For compiler, these two are distinct things, distinct names. But for us, there is no meaningful distinctions. So if you are using the same name to two different things in the same scope, so you just some way use small changes you apply to these things, misspelling something or doing some kind of this thing to satisfy the compiler. Like I have said, I cannot use a class. Maybe this class is a keyword. In most of the languages I cannot use, or somebody has already used that thing, whatever the reasons. So what I will do, I'll use class. So compiler is happy or interpreter is happy. Why? This is a legitimate name and there is nothing excess. But when we are seeing these things, what is this class? Whether some new feature introduced by the software, programming language, etc., we will be in trouble, right? So whenever you are give meaningful distinctions. So this is very important. If just you want to distinct it, then you can just give something like this, and you can probably satisfy compiler or the interpreter. It will work, it will do something also. But this will become a nightmare for us in future. Okay, so don't do like that. So it's not sufficient to add number, series, or noise weights, even though compiler is satisfied. The other thing is that I have an employee, already I have an employee, so I just had employee 1. Okay, so this is just to satisfy again a compiler or an interpreter. I can add another code like employee 1, and finally there are a lot of employee 1, employee 2, employee 3, etc. A lot of variables we have created, and finally programmers, whoever looking at, even if it is you yourself look and see, array, what is this, what I have written, what is this employee 1, what is this employee 2, I want to go back again to the declaration and see it. Okay, then again this makes a lot of confusions even to you, even if you after some time also, or even to you also when the time you are using these variables, or obviously to other programmers also. So make sure that you make the meaningful distinctions. Like the same thing, number series naming. Okay, so this is also like that, A2, A1, etc. So what is this A1 and what is this A2? Anybody can tell from this code? Oh, no. what does
Okay,
actually
that's
this
what-
program does, or what is this A1 and A2? If you can just look and tell me.
it takes the character array and
Huh?
iterating is copying that parameters to A2 array.
Okay, so what is A1 and what is A2?
I don't know.
Can you
Array
distinguish?
of characters.
Huh? Array of characters, that is fine. But what it does,
Okay.
or what it's actually, what it represents.
No idea.
Okay, you can guess by looking into that program, because I am assigning all the characters from A1 array to A2 array, right?
Yes.
By putting in a loop, obviously. So
Okay.
A1, I can say this is a, what you say? This is a source, and this is a destination,
Yes.
right? So this is a source array and this is a destination array. So if I have named instead of A1 as a source, and if this is a destination, will it become more clearer?
Yes.
Right. So whenever you are writing programs, you have to make sure that all these names, whatever you are writing these names, whether A1, A2, or whatever it is, make it very, very clear actually. Okay, because you may be remembering at that time what is A1 and what is A2, but in future also when you are coming back, or some of your peers are coming back into this program for any kind of extension or any kind of modifications or whatever it is, whatever the reason it is, they will be confused, and this will be a problem as the length of the function, method, etc. also getting increased. A lot of things are getting added and I'm passing to some other functions. Then finally I'm thinking, what is this A1 and A2? I don't know. Lot level of abstractions are coming into these functions. So basically I cannot predict finally what is A1, A2, etc. So don't give this like kind of A1, A2. Just easy for us, easy for the developer just to put across A1, A2, etc. But it is very hard for the maintaining things, or it is very hard for the extending the things. So please make sure that whenever you are giving, you give the meaningful distinctions instead of some kind of random names. Okay. So other thing is that see, I have defining methods also. This is applicable for methods also. I'm defining some kind of things like get active account and get active accounts and get active accounts info. What is the difference? How will I know? Can you guess anything from this? You need not go into programming side. So just looking into these things, you may have to guess, right? Get active account, maybe fetching one account. Get active accounts, maybe fetching multiple accounts. Get active account info, maybe fetching
Information
about the one active account. Right. This is what I am guessing. Right. It may not be correct. Okay. I have seen programmers doing this kind of things because I want to use this get active account program, but I need to do some kind of modifications on that. So what I will do, I will just copy that function into some other function and rename it to get active accounts, because I give just yes, it compiles, and I did whatever my changes they were. Is that happened? Is that happened to you or somebody else? Have you seen such kind of things? Or no?
Yes.
This happens actually. A lot of people doing this Control C and Control V is biggest crime in IT industry. So people are get used to this Control C and Control V. So instead of reusing that component, they are just copying that component code into our thing. So we know we are in complete control of that thing. Just renaming it, even in the same scope itself that they are doing, and making a lot of problems for the future also. So I don't know actually which one to call. I'm guessing that this may be the right thing, but once you leave everything to a guessing, this will be a problem. Okay. And another thing is that use pronounceable names. Okay. So a significant part of our brains, so if you look into our brains, we are working with a lot of the concept of weights. Okay. And we definitely have all these weights are pronounceable. So make your names also. So like this. Okay. So I have a class. See that are record 102, and I don't know what is this. Okay, this is maybe date generated date. It gives the format like year, month, date, hour, etc. All right, or it gives the modification, the mode, again why, like that. Lot of things it is giving, right? But finally, what happens? I don't know whether this is pronounceable. Obviously no. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to create something called like this. So whether this is pronounceable?
Yes.
Yeah. So generation timestamp, modification timestamp. Okay, so instead of this data record, I give it a pronounceable name like what? Like customer. Clear? So instead of data record, so this is the way you have to write your programs, which is generally pronounceable. So make it sure that whatever the names that you are giving, make it pronounceable. Also, other important things in names is that searchable names. Okay, so a single letter name I have given or some numeric constants I have given have this particular problem. Okay, so I have given, I know the 7 is a number that I have to use extensively in my program, saying that maximum class per student. Okay, even if you used in one place, okay, you forget about in a lot of other places you are using this one in a one place. If maximum, if the students exceeds maximum class per student, and I say that 7 or 70 or whatever the number is the maximum class per student. But if that exceeds, so I have put some logic under that. Then in future, I want to search it out. I want to search it out, the place where I have given this particular say condition. If condition, I want to search it out. How you will search? If you search 7, a lot of things will come, right? A lot of places we may have used this 7. So that is also a problem. So instead that, if you use some kind of say enums or this kind of things, it will be very easy. It can be enum or it can be a constant or whatever it is. So I definitely get the details out there. All right, clear? Likewise, the name E, I gave a variable name E. Then how we will search that even in a single file? I want to replace that E. It's very difficult actually, because E is very common in English language, and you will find it out in a lot of places, and it is very hard for you to change also, or even change, just search it also. Then you have to use a lot of other things. It's very difficult actually for you to do these kind of scenarios out there. Okay, so whenever you are giving names, please hold for some time. Please think through what the name you are giving, what is the impact of that namings, whether that name, that intent is revealing on that name, whether that name is searchable, whether that name is meaningfully distinguishable. Like a lot of things you have to look into, even if you are giving names for variables, methods, functions, classes, or whatever it is. Clear? Okay, so see, if you look into this code, anybody have any idea what it does? It loops, then do some calculations, right? It's hard to see what actually it does. But in that place, if I have done like this, even the code is become a little bit big, right? So instead of this 34, or even if this 34, I can use the number of tasks. If it is less than number of tasks, like I have getting the sum, but this sum also I have made into different things. instead of just this 4, 5, 34 or whatever it is, right? So this is how we can refactor our code and make it more readable, because at this time the code looks like more readable. Is it clear? Any doubt on this?
No, sir.
Okay. And avoid encodings. Okay, encoding means that so you add some kind of funny things or some other languages that you do, that you can avoid this kind of encodings. So like Sangamesh said, some kind of abbreviations, not a general abbreviations, we are adding some kind of abbreviations which is hard to read, or something, simply you are adding some kind of things. So that will make the life of other programmers very miserable. And there is a HN or Hungarian notation kind of encoding. You remember the days, so somebody of you, if you have worked on the very early Visual Studio programs, like what do you say, this Visual Studio 6 kind of things, there is a concept called every text field should have this prefixed with the text, or label should be prefixed with the label. That still some of us are following, I know, but these are actually bad. We should not add all those kind of encodings. Okay, because currently IDE is so earlier it was very hard. Actually, we are using some kind of word processes to write the code. There was not this kind of IDs, all those things were not there. We are writing codes in a kind of a word processes, which it's very difficult actually. I don't know, when looking into that particular variable, what type of that variable. So I added that Hungarian notation that was required at that point of time. But currently, if you look into these kind of things, the ID itself gives you a lot of informations, like what kind of variable it is, that where it is used. You can get the usage of those variables also just in a single click. You can get it all those details. So commenting or giving these kind of encodings on those parts are very, very irrelevant right now, because that's a lot of messy code into your application. Okay, so some other encoding I would say. See, look at these things. Okay, I have created a variable called phone string, but now what is the data type? What is the data type? Hello?
Phone number.
Phone number. So phone number, I assume that may be a class or structure or whatever it is, right? It's not a primitive data type, right? But looking into this particular code, what we can assume that earlier it was done like this: string, phone string, right? Then I changed. I decided, okay, phone is not just a string. I need to add a lot of other things also. So what I did, I made it a class or something, but the name not changed when type changed. So these kind of issues also can happen if you encode that particular data type into your variable. Clear? So avoid this kind of encoding also, and avoid mental mapping also. So so mentally translate your name into other names, and that they already know. Okay, so lot of smart people are there. I want to show my smartness, so I know a lot of words. So I want to just map it out there. Maybe you use some kind of tough words, or you may be using some kind of local words actually, so that I know that even some of my colleagues also may be knowing, but it's not actually good for other practices also. So don't try to be smart, actually be professional. Okay, so don't think that I'm a very smart programmer, I can give a lot of funny names and all those things, maybe, but always be a professional programmer. That the professional understanding that what is king is, he clearly says that the clarity is the king here. Okay, nothing else. Okay, so we need to have the clarity rather than this kind of funniness. And like some other people also, I have a humor sense, so I use, instead of deleted items, I use holy hand grenade. So instead of delete, I use grenade. So these are some kind of funny names. You may be some of you may be knowing, but so these kind of weights are there. A lot of weights are there. Instead of delete, I use grenade or bomb it, something like that. Even though it looks similar or it looks very funny, don't use it, because this is against the professional ethics or clarity. So basically we need clarity, not the entertainment, of at least on the part on the coding part. So be very, very professional in that. Okay. And another thing on the name is that pick one word for one abstract construct and stick with it. Okay. So somewhere you are using fetch records, somewhere we are using retrieve records, and somewhere we are using get records. I also don't know what to use. Whatever comes into at that time into my mind, I'm writing it. This you may have done, I may have done, all of us may have done on that some particular point of time. So stick to one thing. If I am using fetch, if everybody agrees to this, that we will be using fetch, then you use fetch only. Don't use retrieve and get. Okay, this is for one abstract place. If the meanings changes or the abstraction changes, you can definitely decide on that thing. So if I want to get a record, if I am hitting at the database abstraction level, I'm telling, so you define one word only. Okay, you can use this in the higher level abstraction. I'm fine with that. But on if I am saying that the service you are using get, but on the controller level abstractions or data layer I'm using fetch, that is also fine. But in one abstraction level, don't use two kind of things, right? So this also will make a lot of confusions. What is fetch and all those things. So any doubts still so far?
No, sir, I'm clear.
Okay, I think some other old people also joined lately. I think somebody, Ashwati, you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any doubts? Or I think I don't know whether how much part you have missed it.
Yeah, but whatever I heard now, I'm okay with it.
Okay,
No
fine.
problem.
So if nobody has any questions, we'll go into the functions, because a lot of things to cover in this session. I don't know how much time will permit it, but still we go. We'll try to complete as soon as possible, as much as possible, basically. So functions. The first rule of functions is that they should be small, very clear in mind. Okay, you should not write long functions. It will be a nightmare for you to basically maintain it. Okay, it is easy to write, but make sure that the first rule of functions is that they should be small. And what is the second rule? The second rule of functions is that they should be smaller than that. Okay, so this part, it says that you have to make your functions as small as possible. Okay, so you look into this function. Can you guess what this function is doing? I'll give some maybe some couple of seconds or 1 minute maximum to give to you. If you can just see what it does.
We might need to go through the complete course. It's very difficult to
Very
get.
difficult, I know. But just go through. Just whatever you get in a glimpse in 1 minute is fine for me.
Just, I think it is doing this throw exception. It's trying to catch some exceptions out of the code.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just go through. Just put your mind and see if anything you can derive from it.
Just testing HTML page data and returning the data with a success.
Okay. Then anything else?
I think it's scraping the data and storing it in a variable. And if there is any issue in doing that activity, it is trying to throw an exception.
Okay. Right. Anybody else? Oh no, Shruti. You don't go into detailed things, just what you can catch it up. Very difficult, I know, to get these things.
Is it only storing the path of the data? I mean, path of the page or the entire? I don't know. It looks like little confusing.
Anyway, it is returning some HTML. Some page data don't get HTML.
Okay. This is a simulation actually in real time scenario. You will end up with getting these kind of lot of functions. Somebody comes and say there is a small bug in this, you come and fix it. Then you look into this code and then you say, how much code, what it is. I cannot understand anything. This happens to you, right?
Yeah, right.
So, okay, fine. So this is basically, it's a returning some kind of HTML, right? And it is checking a lot of things, whether that page has some kind of attributes. A lot of if conditions are there, right? If I can see a lot of ifs, right? Everywhere it includes suit setup, suit tear down. It's very hard actually. Even for just forget about 1 minute, even you sit for 1 day also, it's very difficult because you don't know the head and tail of it, right? So and just telling that how difficult it is sometimes to read some kind of codes. But okay, instead I have given something like this. Will it more readable? Same function, same thing only, just rewritten with the things. What is the difference?
First of all, it's more readable.
Very small.
This is very small, right? And what I have done, I have added some level of abstractions into it, right? You know what is abstraction, right? Abstraction in the sense that I'm hiding the details, nothing much. So here there are a lot of exposure to things, how it is working, like etc. But if you look into here, there are a lot of abstractions. How I abstracted? I say include setup pages as a separate method or separate function, right? I don't know what is happening inside that. That's why I'm saying abstraction is important, right? I say include tear down pages. So that is another level of abstraction I put it out there. So there are,
Are you saying that you are splitting that code into multiple functions, and here it is only the sub functions which you are calling to
yes. So that's what we are looking into, abstraction kind of things also. Also, some of our principles that we have already learned, that a function should be smaller, right? And a function should do one thing, actually, one single responsibility also, right? So here a lot of things this function is doing. Instead that I say that each function is very small and it have a one responsibility. One responsibility is not one responsibility of doing. That is, we'll come into that SRP principle later. As I said, maybe in the next class we'll be looking into these SRP principles. But that it says that there should be one reason to change it. Okay, not one reason, one particular responsibility to do it. It's another way that we will see the examples also. But if you look into these two functions, the main thing is that this code is more readable, since because we know if I get this into, if I want to go, maybe the bug may be in this function, right? Include tear down pages. I only want to look into this thing. Rest of the things I can ignore. I'm not going to change that code. That will work like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that's how you are adding the abstractions, and that's how it's the life is. You are making the life of other programmers or yourself also. So I don't want to go into too much details. Let me come into the point. Then if I want to go inside that, I can go inside and see what that include tear down pages is doing. right? So if you get into these things, this is how you should look into the functions also. A function should be very small. It should have a one responsibility instead of it is doing a lot of other things. It looks very hard actually for the people also. And if you are working in a team, somebody want to change something here, somebody want to change something here, in the Git repository and over everything, you are changing everything in one function, one file, lot of conflicts will come, right? Instead, you can give it to some other files also, some other functions also. It's very easy actually to maintain in the, it's become very easy for you also to collaboratively work on different parts of things, because the conflicts areas are very less actually. Okay, so just keep in mind that your functions should be the smallest as much as possible. Okay, and I can again put it into this thing. It's more actually again I have refactored into these things, so I'm not going into the details. So as I said, first rule and second rule I applied again and again, and finally I found it out, very small things, kind of things. Okay, so the small function, so this implies that the block within if statement, else statement, while statement, and so on should do one line down. You don't put lot of if statements like this. Okay, then it means that it is doing a lot of other things and it becomes small. So this rule, if you can put it across, says that blocks within if statement, else statement, while statement, etc. should do one line alone. If you make it one line, if that possible, you can reduce it. You can split it into multiple functions, multiple methods, or whatever it is. Okay, so probably that line should be a function code. Basically, then only we can add it out, we can reuse it. Lot of advantages are there over for that thing. Okay, so this also implies that function should not be large enough to hold nested structures. We have seen in the listing one that lot of nested structures are there. The function is not supposed to do that. Function just look into some kind of if, and then it delegates into some other functions to work for doing work for that thing. If it is else condition, you delegate to some other function. That's how if you write your codes, this will become more easy to maintain. This code will become more and more clean, right? It's very understandable. And look into here also, instead of this testable HTML, I don't know what is this testable HTML. Instead of that, what we give that render page with setups and teardowns. So it's more clear, right? Instead of testable HTML, I don't know what is this testable HTML. Instead, I give render page with setups and teardowns. Okay, so that's what more into function. Okay, functions do one thing. That's what the rule says, that the function should do one thing. They should do it well, and they should do that only. Not too much things it should do. Okay. And if you look into the code also, the same issue happens here. I have a switch case, right? Switch is also not a very good thing. If you use a lot of switch cases, that is also probably a very bad smell for your code. Something you can smell it out. Something is bad in that code. Okay. So switch types also, switch type like a case, a lot of cases I am adding. So what is the issue with this thing code? So it's large actually. Okay. When you add a new employee type, what happens? I have a commissioned employee, I have an hourly employee, I have a salary employee. If something like that, I have some kind of contract employees there, new employee type comes, this gets added, right? So the type gets added. And then what happens? Third, it violates single responsibility principles, which says that there are more than one reason to change it. Okay, so there are multiple reasons to change it. If some new people are coming, I want to add it. There are a lot of other reasons to change it. We'll look into it. Don't worry about this SRP right now. That we will look into detail in next class probably. And there are other things also, which is open closed principle also. This also we will look into next class. These are the first two principles of solid principles. One is single responsibility principle, which says that there should be one reason to change it. And the other is OCP, which is open closed principles, which says that it violates actually. It should be closed for modifications and open for extension. That's what OCP principle is telling, that we will look into the next class, but it violates this particular things also. So if you look into this kind of things, it violates. So you have to refactor it. How we will refactor and all those things we will look into later. But The thing is that these kind of things will get it added, and you have to look into these kind of smells out there in your code and have to refactor it. Don't afraid to make a name law. Okay, this also we discussed. A long descriptive name is better than short enigmatic name. Okay, a long descriptive name is better than long descriptive comment. Okay, so I have to give a lot of comments that better you give a long descriptive name instead of thing. Okay, and don't be afraid to spend time choosing a name. So as we said, how we are selecting any particular name, just don't select name whatever comes into mind at that point of time. Instead, you go sit, just think over it, what it is doing, how it is be used in all those things, whatever we have learned in this particular lecture. You just think across it and apply some logic that there should be clarity. That's what I said, clarity is the king. There should be clarity, everybody, not just for you, but for other people also, there should be clarity. And function arguments, you know what is a function arguments, right? If I am saying a calculate is a function, I can say that something like that, 3 variables I am giving. Say suppose for example I am giving A2, A3, etc. So A1 is a variable, a argument, A2 is an argument, A3 is an argument. I don't know whether you are able to see it that way. So the ideal number of arguments for a function is 0. Next comes 1. 1 is, we say, mosaic and dyadic, like that, its naming is there. Okay, so you just forget about this there. So if there are more than 3 arguments, okay, that should be avoided. So if you are having more than 3 arguments to your function, that is a smell actually that you need some kind of refactoring. Okay. So basically this requires very special justification why you are using these kind of functions, and then shouldn't be used anyway, because there are a lot of problems that for maintainability you need to have it, right? Instead you can create a class and pass it like that. So here also if you look into, okay, I have a make circle. This is a method actually which takes 3 arguments, x, y, radius, and I have it returns a circle object, right? Instead of this thing, I can put it into, because x and y is basically a center. So I create a class called pointer and I put that x and y into center. So in case if it is a 3-dimensional, I can add set also. But here, if it comes from 2-dimensional to 3-dimensional, I want to add I have to add a double x set also, right? Which will become huge problem for us in future, because it becomes the length is become the signature is getting changed. Then I have to go back and change all the places where this is calling. So instead of, if I add one more pointer into one more variable in the center thing, the signature is not good getting changed, and I don't want to go every place and change whatever it is passing, so that I can handle. So this is also very, very important. You try to avoid changing the signatures of a particular function. Signature means we have learned that what is a signature in last class also. Signature comprises of return type, that method name, and the number, types, and order of those arguments also. If anything changes, the signature changes. So I don't want to try and change the signature, because that will affect a lot of other places where this particular method is called. Okay, so this handles those kind of extensions. Okay, now coming into some interesting parts called comments. So the rule, it says that don't comment bad code, rewrite it. Why you are writing a comment is because your code is not explainable, or your code is not saying that it's not actually people are not getting from what you are code, then you are putting a lot of comments. And we will see, like first we discussed what to comment, what not to comment, etc. We will see. So nothing can be quite as helpful as a well-placed comment. So what is well-placed comment? That is a question. Okay, nothing can clutter up module more than these kind of dogmatic comments also. So if you put a lot of comments into your code it will be very hard to find out the code itself. There will be a lot of comments. Okay, And these comments most times will propagate lies and misinformations. Okay. That also we'll see how that comments will propagate misinformations also. We have seen some places also. But proper use of comments is to compensate our failure to express ourselves. So the code is your documentation. The code is your comment. So everybody who reads your code should understand that. No need of writing any other documentation, because people don't have time. No need of reading these comments. And the problem with the comment is that actually we are not, somebody else changes this code, they will not bother about go and change the comment, because code I have changed, it is working, then why should I bother about these comments? They will not change it actually. So what happens is that over the time the comment will be older, but the code will be newer. There will not be any match on that code. Okay. So basically, if you look, the programmers actually cannot realistically maintain a comments, right? Code they will maintain, but the comment they will not maintain. So that's what code changes evolves. Chunk of code move from one place to another. Okay, those chunks bifurcate, reproduce. A lot of things happens. So some codes will come together. So, but the comments don't. Comments may be placed out there. So that comment is not to code. I can cut, copy, paste code from here to there. I have seen a lot of places comments are only there and then nothing else is there, because code has moved out to some other place. There's no code actually for that part, but comment is there. Okay. So something like this. So if you look into this thing, I have somebody has written a code example, but this code is actually written for this particular line. Then what happened? Somebody else and actually put a lot of code in between this actual code and comment. And this comment, currently it is not explanatory. Okay, somebody actually put a comment out there. What is this means that? Fine. But finally what happens is, even if it is up or down or whatever it is, that this happens to people. This happens that these comments can change their positions. The comment can get older, but you are not maintaining. Programmers are not maintaining, but that is not a compulsion for them. So instead of using comments, better you should express yourselves in code as far as possible. Okay. Proper use, it's okay. Fine, I am fine for that. But generally, comment do not make up for bad code actually. So you are commenting maybe for bad code, I don't know, I'm explaining like this, but mostly explain yourself. Okay. So here also one other example, the code is that the employee flags and hourly flags and employee age equal to 65. I don't know what it is doing, so I put a comment like that, check to see if the employees is eligible for full benefits. Okay. So instead that, better you refactor into this. Very simple thing. And you put all this logic in this function. Is this more readable? Is this more readable?
Yes.
Yes, right? Because this, I don't know what it is happening here. A lot of ifs. Then I have to see what is this flag is doing. This comment may be there, may not be there. It may have changed something, some condition added to the if condition that is not added to the code, etc. But this explains very beautifully. Actually, you need not require any comment out there. Is eligible for full benefits. The name is self-explanatory. The intent revealing, and it is putting the abstract level also. It is reducing your the method length also. So this becomes more and more beautiful and more maintainable also. So there are some good comments also, some legal comments. I have to put it across, some kind of information, some kind of intent, but use whenever you say that some kind of to-do comments. Anybody using the to-do comments?
Sometimes.
But actually, what are those?
Huh?
To-do means what? I mean, from the programming context, what does to-do mean? Like,
I'll tell you. Just I'll explain you in a short. but there is a concept called to do command. And Ashwin, are you using this? Ashwin, you there? No, I'm not getting. Ashwini, you are using any to do command?
No, I'm remembering. I kept seeing.
Okay, so to do commands are there. Basically, I can add to do commands. This is some special formats are there. I can add a to do command. It's basically a comment only with the keyword to do out there. So what I'd say that I want to, I know that something I have to do, but that's not a priority. Something like that to do, maybe something I have to refactor, but for checking I'm doing currently doing some kind of applications. So I will make it a to do command out there. This need to be refactored, something like that. Then whenever I'm going to check in, the modern intelligent IDEs like IntelliJ IDEA, etc., they will give you, there are a lot of to do commands are there, whether you want to change it, whether you want to relook into these things, and it will give you the warnings also why you are put a lot of to do commands and commenting it out. So basically this will help you to remind you also, okay, I left out that part, I'm not remembering right now. You may have forgotten that, obvious, you have gone through other things, but at that time that was not a priority. But before checking in, I will make sure that I will do all those things. So these are some kind of things are there. So you people can actually look into IntelliJ IDEA kind of IDEs that you are using. It all gives this kind of functionalities. You can use it also if required, but make sure that you clean it up before you finalizing all your things. You make sure that you clean it up. Okay. And there are a lot of bad command actually. Okay. I'm not saying a lot of things into that. Redundant command. Okay. Redundant command is that say something like that. I say say something like that. In salary, okay, I created and I commented it that this is an integer. Oh, we'll see. Okay, really, this is an integer. Why you want to say that this is an integer? So these are redundant comments. Okay, or this is for salary. Okay, I know that this is for salary because the name itself says a salary. Then why you are putting that tag in the comment? Okay, so Ashwin, I don't know when Ashwin is there or Ponu. That kind of follow practice is not good. You have to relook into that, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And another small thing, this I'll go very quickly. Purpose of formatting. You know, I have done these things. Code formatting is very, very important. Don't ignore it. Whatever you do. Okay, so communication. So we are writing the code for the communication. So this formatting will definitely help you. If you read a book, if it is not formatted, it will be very difficult for you to read that book. You probably will not read it. So make sure that your code is well formatted. Currently, say like this, don't write like this, even though compiler will definitely don't have any issues in compiling and all those things, but probably it will be very difficult for you to format and indent kind of things. Currently, all the IDEs supports this hotkeys. Some hotkeys are there, right? Using that different from different even operating system also, or even for the IDEs also, there are a lot of differences, but you can use these hotkeys and just in a single click you can comment this and make it readable. Okay, so make sure that your comments are properly intended and formatted. So same way for classes also. First rule again is similar to that methods or functions that we have said. First rule for classes is that they should be small, and the second rule of the classes is that it should be smaller than that. Okay, so what we say that a lot of places, if you look into the small classes also, name of the class, this is similar. I'm not going into too much into that thing. The name of class should be very this thing, and it should reveal the words, or even you use the class names, include the vessel words like professor, manager, super. Okay, so lot of areas you look into. Naming conventions as very important. It should do the single responsibility principles that we will come into that. there is only one reason to change for that particular class. So if you look into these classes are so huge, right? I don't know what all things that this class is doing. So similarly, I can find it out some kind of things like this super dashboard one class is there. I can find it out, a lot of things are there, and I can finally move into a version class and I can use it. So I can refactor it. I can refactor that classes into, I can split those classes into different small classes. So these small classes can be reused, or even it will become a very thing. Rather than look into this listing, it's very difficult for you to understand what it is actually doing. It's doing a lot of things, and I want to change this class for multiple purposes. Almost every time I touch something in similar to this thing, I'm going to change this class. So there are multiple reasons for this class to change. So class also follows the same method as same thing as methods. Okay, now quickly I will go into exception handling, then we will have some 5 minutes or 10 minutes break. Okay, so exception handling is that we know what is exceptions, right? All people have done this try catch exceptions rules are there. So there are some simple rules that you need to follow. Is that earlier, if you look into the C language or that area, people are working with return types. Okay, so error, some kind of error code. So if the error code is 0, it is success. Okay, if it is non-zero, if you remember the C, it is failure. That was the thing that followed in most of the C languages. If it is 0, it is a success. If it is a non-zero, it can be anything else, any failure other than success. So why they are following is because there is only one 0 and there is only one success. Success means success, and failure, there are multiple reasons. So you are adding a lot of codes. Any code you can add as a failure code, return code that we used to say. So gone those errors. Currently all the languages supports exceptions very well, actually. So first you want to say that you want to write your try catch finally statement, that you have to define your scope. You see what all you are going to do in that particular function. You write your try catch, and then so you are assuming that this can abort at any point and then resume at catch. So I saw that some of the programmers write the catch thing, but nothing they have written. They just do some comments. So what happens is that it will go, something happens, it goes to catch, then nothing happens. Finally, the kind of unresponsiveness comes into programs and all those things. So that is a different story. But when you are making a code very clean, you make sure that you write this try catch finally. And blocks, try blocks, you transactions. You know what is transaction, right? Okay, so transactions have a consistent state. You should not abort in between. Either it's successful or it's a complete failure. Like that, you write something in try, you means that whatever happens, it goes into whatever something wrong happened, it goes into catch or it into finally, and then you will proceed from there. Okay. So see, basically it makes more sense to control the flow using the available logic rather than expecting exceptions to the phone. So we'll come into these details. So exception should be reserved for exceptional circumstances only. Basically, exceptions are not part of business requirements. Business requirements, we can root a lot of business rules and business validations out there, but exceptions are exceptions. Treat them as exceptions only. Okay, now if you treat like that, the code is a lot cleaner. And exceptions should say, I have seen a lot of exceptions also. It says that something has happened, but there is no trace log. Okay, sometimes it says there is no error. No error is displayed on the log, it's just kills. Well, if there is no error, why that happened? Why that program got aborted? Okay, so exceptions, whenever you are writing exceptions, make sure that you give very meaningful information. Why that happened, when that happened, what is the actual stack at that point of time. So all those things you should look into the case, right? So like that error 76, this was an old software error in the old Microsoft exception, error 76, path not found. But it is it's in the early way back in 95, and some of them are still exist. and it says that this exception doesn't tell anything, which path, what path, where is the location, what kind of things it is looking into. Just getting this error will not help us, because this can come for various across reasons. So don't give like that. You give very meaningful and specific informations into exceptions. So we'll come into a little bit more things I have to cover on the smells and heuristics things. Shall we take some 5 minutes break?
Sure.
Yeah. So just 5 minutes, we'll back. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay, so we'll go a little bit more details into the smells and heuristics. What is code smells, and more than that, what we need to follow, all those things. This little bit into detail and depth also. Maybe some of them are repeated, but for the sake of clarity, let's go into section by section. Is a well-defined thing out there. So once again, we come back into comments. Okay. So comment, so I have given a number also. This basically nothing is from my thoughts. Actually, this is also some from the books and references, which I will show you at the end of the thing. Okay, which I would recommend you people to read also. So one thing is that inappropriate information. So what is inappropriate information is that basically you need not comment a lot of informations such as your source code control system, your issue tracking system. Somewhere you fix a bug and you comment it out that bug tracker number. This is fixed for this for the bug number 1 2 3 4 5 5 or etc. Or some kind of record keeping system we people are used to do. That was required in the earlier phases, because there was not much a source control system was there. But currently, once this source control system you implemented out there, you need not track all those things, because from the source control system itself, you will get for this, if you use it properly, you will get for this particular bug what all the files have been checked in, what all the files have been changed, and what exact at the minute level changes that we have been worked and who changed at what time, etc. All details you will get it from your source control system like GitHub, etc. So you need not keep these kind of inappropriate informations in your system. I fixed for this kind of bug, etc. Okay, and change histories. This is modified by author name on that date for this purpose, like that we are started writing also. So these kind of change histories also. This will clutter up this your source files, volumes. A lot of people says that this is modified for the him, and metadata such as this last modified date, SRN number. This be used to follow in a very earlier kind of things where there was no source control system. But currently, all these kind of things are being taken care by the source control system. So don't go and write all those things in your things. And comment should be reserved for technical notes and about code and design. Some very specific things that you need to mention, which you cannot express your code, etc. You can mention it through things. Otherwise, don't use comment. And obsolete comment. So any comment that got old, irrelevant, and incurrent is obsolete. Okay. So comments get old very quickly, because it's hard to write code itself in this time. So how you are going to maintain your comments also? So what you will do, you will write the code, you compile it, you push it across, then we'll say, okay, comments I will change it later because of the pressure. work pressure, I will need to complete this thing in this much time, so I concentrate only on the bugs, then I will go and change the command. Even if you change it, there is no guarantee that some other programmers comes and do this same as like you. So comments will become obsolete. It becomes very old, and this will become irrelevant right now. It will become incorrect. So all this becomes an obsolete. So if you find an obsolete thing, so the best thing is you have to do is get rid of it. You remove it. Okay. So just get rid of those comments. That is better. Okay. So because what happens is these comments we will read, it will give you false information, and it will lead to false kind of scenarios also, because comment may be specifying something, code may be specifying something, because comments are not getting up to date with the code. Then finally what happens is that the comments will be in the comments. If you go by the comments, this will be in big trouble. We assume something, and in reality it may be something else. Okay, that's a problem. Okay, they become floating islands of irrelevance and misdirections in the code. That's what I have explained. It will become completely misdirections in future. Okay, now comes redundant comment. Okay, a comment is redundant if it is describes something adequately describes itself. For example, I say I++. Everybody knows that is increments the value of the I. So why I am going again and say that you just increment, this is an increment I, something like that. So remove this kind of redundant comments. Another example is a Java doc. Somebody says this kind of a Java docs used very earlier for generating the documentation for a particular class. So I'm saying I have a particular method building settle item, and I am saying that this have a parameter of type selling request. It's return something, it throws these things, but these are actually, if you look into here, everything is explainable from this signature itself. Why you want to again and change? And finally what happens is that earlier it may be returning nothing, then it's returned something else, you forget to add it in the comment, and comment says something, code does something else. So these basically becomes obsolete also in near future. But more than that, it's a redundant comment. You need not require these kind of things like that integer d, this is an integer, or I++, this is an increment, or something like that. This takes these parameters. Why if you start writing it, that it will become a book like that. Okay, so don't use the redundant comments. And poorly written comment. So if you want to write comment, write it very well actually. Okay. So if you are going to write a comment, take time to make sure that the best comment you can write, unless just whatever comes into your mind, don't just write it out there. You see why I want to write this comment, whether I want to avoid the comment by just changing my what do you say, changing my code to express itself rather than putting a lot of comments out there. And in reality, if you really want to put that comment, something you need to express it out using your code also, then you look into this particular thing, sit for some time, understand what I'm going to write, make sure that you use correct grammar, punctuation, and make it very clear. As I said, it's clarity is the key. Okay, so don't use this kind of poorly written comments. Don't ramble, don't state the obvious, be brief. Okay, don't state it is obvious, everybody understands, I thought like that. So clarity is again the king, and be brief also. Don't write so much things, make it very short, very brief if you want to write any particular comment. And another thing is that this I have seen in a lot of places also. If you take especially on a lot of programs, you see lot of places there are stretches of codes that are commented out. I think I am sure that you have faced this thing also. You don't know why even a page, 2 page, 3 page is commented out. Why we are commenting it out? Any reason?
Maybe we are not using that code. We have alternatively coded other lines.
Yeah. So we may think that, okay, this code may be useful in future, so I don't want to delete it, just comment it. Okay, then I will use something else. So what happens in this case is that say basically this will clutter your code, right? So I don't want, if you want, if you have checked out some file and trying to change it, if you don't want it, delete it, right? Your source code repository or source code revision system, what you are using, GitHub or whatever the source code you are using, Git kind of source codes and all other source codes also will remember that, right? What was the previous version. If somebody wants to take that code, they can obviously go and check out that particular, look into that particular version of that particular file, and definitely can look into those codes. Why you want to carry this kind of burden, that commented out code? So wherever you feel that your commented out code is there, delete it. Okay, no mercy, delete it. Your source code control system will remember it, what you have deleted, what was there previously, etc. So if you don't want it, make sure you delete it, because this code seeds, it rots, then it goes to smell, and this becomes irrelevant. A day pass day by day, it becomes irrelevant, and finally you have to avoid it, because this brings a lot of smells into your code. So if you find it out, any commented out code, delete it, don't worry. Okay, if anyone needs, that's what I said, if anyone really needs it, he can go back into the repository system, get the previous version, and then find out these things. Only everybody need to suffer on this commented out code, right? So make sure this is also a rule, that this is some of the simple rules I'm telling, which you can follow it out to become better programmers or to become better coders. Okay, so and this will help intensely you yourself, your fellow programmers, your company, organization, and it will have a huge impact also. And environment. So another code smell or things like that, build requires more than one step. Okay, so building a project should be a single trivial operations. Okay, so you should not have many little pieces from there. I need to push. So suppose I am telling I want to release a particular project, then I want to release other project and put that library into this. Then I want to do something else, some change, go and change some kind of environmental variables, like that. Lot of other things requires before I'm taking a build. That means that you have not properly configured your application system. So if you want to build it, just build it, just go and build it. Okay, you may require a little pieces. You have to check out those little pieces from the source control, and a lot of commands like thing that is there. So currently look into this. This is an old SVN kind of things. This is a very old system. It's not a new thing, but only nothing matters. Instead of SVN, it will be become JIT, and this AND will become Gradle and other things. Right, AND is a very old one. So what it does, that SVN get my system means it's actually checking out my project, okay, going into that project and just building it, and is a build tool. Like there are a lot of other tools also. I think you may have heard about Maven, Gradle. Currently people are using this Maven and Gradle and all those things. So AND is another popular tool which was used very previously. So I say AND all means it just get compiled into that. So some simple steps I need to get into. So this I can automate. I can, in a single click, I say that, okay, you take the build, right? So if that environment is not ready, something is not ready in your configuration, you need to change it out. You need to get the latest field, something, etc., etc. So make sure that your environment have this kind of issues. That means this also a problem with your design of the particular software. Similarly, test requires more than one step. You should be able to run all your unit tests just one command. So if you're writing a unit test, we'll take some classes on. I don't know how many of you heard about TDD. Have you heard? Anybody? Ashwadi?
No, sir.
No. Panu?
No, sir.
Okay. TDD means test-driven development.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay. Okay, maybe test-driven development is a thing that most of the developers are also using. Okay, so basically you write there are some interesting concepts are there. I'm not going for the sake of time right now. If possible, we will arrange some class for TDD if you are interested, because that is very important right now. You have to test it what you are developing. So that's what unit testing. Unit testing is the developer's responsibility, right? So TDD is you are writing the test cases first, then you write the source code. That's how it's a very interesting thing. We'll cover it up later, because that's a little bit bigger thing. So kind of you have all these unit testers, and you want to do a lot of stuff to run these unit testers. That is also failure. A lot of time is eating up for you. So just you run a button, or just you run some kind of commands like that, it should run all the test cases. Even your IDE is also what are the IDEs that you are using? It's a lot of power actually. A lot of things are integrated into these IDEs. So you have to use those things, even debugging, all those things. So you can use your IDE for just a click and run all your test cases. Okay, or the maximum thing, worst case, you have to put a single command into the shell. Even that is also worst case. I'm telling, one simple command into the shell and run your test cases. Better thing is that you click on that thing, that shell one particular button, and run it out there. Okay, so to run it, so important that it should be very quick, very easy, and you cover it up almost all your these things. Okay, so these are the environment things. Now we comes into functions. I would say this something we have covered, but just look into all these fundamental things to see if there is something smells in your code and what you have to do. That's what we are looking into, smells and heuristics. So smells are actually this is the indication that we require some kind of refactoring, and how we are looking into smells is what we are saying. So too many arguments is a smell, right? And how you are going to refactor it, how you are going to is a different thing. How you are going to change it, we'll come into a little bit on learning the other design principles also. But this one is identifying the smells, and we'll put a discipline for ourselves. So the smell is that it have too many arguments, and what we say, functions should have small number of arguments. No argument is the best, because you can add anything, you can add those functions to anything and all those things, followed by 1, 2, and 3. If more than 3, this is questionable and should be avoided. Okay, and output arguments. Some languages can give the output arguments also. You can pass the input arguments, and you can put the output arguments also to the functions. Okay, but don't use that unless otherwise that much required is that, because arguments, everybody is assuming that arguments will be the inputs, not outputs, because you can pass a variable, get it updated, and get it back. Okay, that's kind of is the output arguments. So you put it, don't take it that for that you use return statements only. Don't use it the argument things. Okay. So if your function must change the state of something, have it change the state function, called on it, then return it back. So don't use the output arguments. And flag arguments and the Boolean arguments. Okay, so we are passing a lot of Boolean arguments to declare. So this loudly indicates that this is a smell, that this smell tells that this function may be doing multiple things, because we are passing a Boolean arguments. This is a confusing also and should be avoided. Okay, so a lot of places I'm passing some true or false variables, and then that function, if you look into that function may be doing some kind of if else conditions, and maybe doing something else with the flag arguments also. So be aware that if you use somewhere, you use the Boolean arguments, try to find it out. Somewhere it may be using more than one thing in that particular function. So dead functions is that you created a method, but that is never called, and then you should discard it, because otherwise it will give the confusion. As I said earlier also, don't worry, your source control will have the copy of that thing, so you need not worry about this thing also. So keeping dead code is around is wasteful. It will more like it will smell also. Don't be afraid to delete the function, because again, I said the source code system will still, some general concepts also I will look into. See, some of the languages, even some of the current things also supports multiple languages. Okay, this also you may wonder first, but you may have done this also, I'm sure. So today's modern programming environment makes it possible to put many different languages into source code. So for example, in a Java source file, you may have done the XML, HTML, Java doc, etc. Right? Or in JavaScript also, you have embedded into it, or you may be creating an HTML. Lastly, we said, or you are using an HTML file into that. So lot of places we are using. Maybe we are using. So if there are multiple languages in one source file, then that is an issue. You have to split that into another source file. You can use that source file, no issue, but you can collaborate and use it, but don't put everything into one source file. Okay, so ideal for a source file is to contain one language. Okay, realistically, we may have to use more than one, but we should take the pain for that and minimize that thing. So all these rules, there may be some kind of exceptions where we have to use that. So these are not rigid rules, as we say that you have to implement it, but these are general rules actually. And there will be some kind of exceptions where you have to follow it. So there may be in life, you may find it out exception, but think through why we require that, whether we need to put that in this file itself, or you have to move to another file. Okay, so multiple languages is one, source file is another thing. Another thing is that obvious behavior is unimplemented, and we'll see the least surprise. Okay, the principle of least surprise, any function or class should implement behaviors of that another program could reasonably observe. So see this function, if you look into this function, that translates the name of the day into an enum. So it actually translates the name, string today. Okay, I'm passing a string name. Okay, now what we expect, we would expect a string Monday to be translated to day.Monday. Right? I'm passing a Monday, then it says that it's a day.Monday. This is an enum. So string to enum conversion, it is happening. Right? Now, what the common abbreviation to be translated, so we would expect the function to ignore the case. So I say, even if I say Monday in capital letters, Monday in small letters, so I ignore the case, and what I will do? So I would take that string and I will return a particular day on Monday. So the problems, maybe if you look into that, the readers of that particular readers or the uses of that code can no longer depend on the function names. So they look into the function names and they cannot understand what string today, what is this string today, etc. So once you do all those things like that, you lose. They lose that trust on you. Okay, you are doing something else. So whenever you are writing a code, be very precise, and the intent should be very, very clear. Okay, and another thing is that incorrect behavior at the boundaries. Okay, so whenever we are writing something, the boundaries are very important. So if I say that you may say equal to, less than or equal to, boundary, I define 0 to 100 is my boundary, but it works perfectly from 1 to 99, but not on 100 and 0. Okay, for an example. So this makes a lot of problems. So we as a developers often write a lot of functions, that thing will work, then trust their intuition. So we are trusting our intuition. Okay, this will work. We will not test. We are not going to test it. This will definitely work. Okay, but in the corners and boundary cases, this may fail. So there is no replacement for due diligence. So you have to be very, very clear on that thing. You have to test it, and you have to make sure that every boundary case, every corner case, every exceptions represents that has to be tested. Okay, don't assume that it will work. You have to write and test for that thing, particular case. So incorrect behavior at boundaries also, if something is there, then there is a bad smell that something is not written very neatly or very cleanly. And overridden safeties. So as a developers, we also write functions that think we will work and trust our intuition and prove that all these cases it will work. But okay, no, not this. Okay, so we'll come into duplication. Sorry, there is one most important. What is that? Have you heard about dry principle? Don't repeat yourself. Okay, so this is one principle that say everything actually get grabbed and done. Somebody else already gone those cycles, and they have clearly defined something for you. Then why you are going again duplicating the same? This was this what I said. Some places you see I have a function, I see that function in one module, which maybe I definitely can call that function, but instead of calling that function, what I did, I replicated or I duplicated that particular function, and then I am going to use it. So don't try it yourself. Already somebody has done. This I faced in some of places also, where these people have written some 60 lines, 70 lines code, which actually doing some kind of very simple, maybe some kind of algorithms they started to implement it. The code was around 60 lines, 70 lines, approximately that thing. So, but when I reviewed that code, I suddenly that okay, what they are doing is a specific algorithm. Okay, then I searched some libraries. There was actually the particular language itself was providing some kind of library for that particular algorithm. Okay, so if I use the update, when I try to use it, I can replace these 70 lines into one line. Okay, just because I am using, because they are just doing it, repeating it, right? They're just trying to repeating it. Okay, so whenever you have done, okay, you never go and do it again. So once and only once you do. So if you write something to extract something, say regex expressions or something, don't go and do it repeated at 100 places. Instead, write once and reuse it. So this duplication is a big thing. In most modern IDEs also, it will show what is the kind of duplication. I don't know how many of you have noticed it. This intelligent IDE will tell you, like with some signals, that this code is a duplicate code. We have found similar codes in your project. So you can go and check that thing. So these kind of things that kind of IDE will give you already. So you can go and see what are the duplicates on that. You can actually eliminate those duplicates. You can make it a reuse things, right? So next time, whenever you are looking into that, you definitely look into this kind of duplication. So as we said, whenever you say a duplication, this is a missed opportunity for abstraction. You know what is abstraction, right? Like we have seen a lot of functions also in last couple of slides, that a lot of places some reusability or abstraction is there. So abstraction means that it is easy for me to understand it. Okay, so that particular duplication part, we can make it as a subroutine or method or class or whatever it is. We can make it that as a another object, and we can reuse that thing, right? So that is a better approach. So this is a very important thing. I have seen this thing. That's what I am taking so much time on this thing. A lot of people are duplicating code, just duplicating instead of instead of trying to reuse that thing. So duplication is a very bad thing. Coding becomes faster and less error prone, because I am doing at one place, it's need not come into this thing. So say like that, this what I said, only you look into that code, copy paste and paste it, and a lot of places you are repeating yourself. Okay, and even subtle form is switch case, if else chain, that appears again and again in various modules. If you look into a lot of if cases, a lot of switch cases with the same set of conditions. If switch is this switch employee type, and we have a lot of cases are there, this switch case is getting repeated maybe in a couple of other places, maybe more than that. Okay, so a lot of places switch cases, if cases getting repeated, this thing. So this you can definitely go and replace with the polymorphism thing. So that also will come into the switch cases, if conditions, all those things. If you put it across a lot of things, this is very bad. we can replace it with the polymorphism. Okay. And still some more modules have similar algorithms. So as I said, there are some algorithms are there, but they don't share. So one algorithm, I have to do it again for my some other module, but this algorithm is well defined in some other particular module. So maybe by our team itself, we have defined that module algorithm, and we are using in that module. In same algorithm, I want to reuse in some other module. So what I will do, I just go and duplication. So this duplication we can address by some kind of template method, strategy pattern that we will look into. So this strategy pattern, how we will look into polymorphism, that probably we can look more detail with the some kind of codings also. So because this is more like a theory kind of things. And next class onwards, we can look into more into implementation side of it, right? How we can implement all those things also. We'll come back into these things also once we once we understand the design principles and design patterns. We'll come back here also. And a code at wrong level of abstraction. So it is important to create abstractions at a higher level. Okay, sorry, just give me a minute. Okay, so we have a base, maybe we have a base class and abstract classes, or we have a implementation classes that we have learned. So whenever we have something we are using at the lower level concepts, we need not put those kind of things in the abstract classes. Okay, something I am creating as a variable, I don't know, I don't sure that I have put across. No, some examples I will tell you. So some places I need a particular variable. That variable is at the implementation level, but I am creating that variable at the abstraction level. So that wrong level of abstractions. If you want to use at the lower level, you declare there itself. If you want to use at the higher level, you declare there itself. So lower level concepts to be in derivative classes, and all higher level classes to be in the base class. So if something else you are matching with the wrong level of abstraction, then this is also a code level. For example, constants, variables, or utility functions that pertain only to the detailed implementation. We have seen what is abstraction, we have seen what is implementation, etc. Then these should not be present in the base class. If it is at the implementation level, then these should not be at the base class. Base class should not know nothing about it, right? This also pertain to source files, components, and modules. So if you look into the good software designs, we will come across this design principles also. Okay, lot of levels we need to look and define our classes. We need to define our abstraction levels rather than just defining the classes, variables, how we are using with whatever comes at that mind. So you have to think throughout there how you are defining and all those things. Okay, so whatever the case may be, the separation need to be complete. So there should be a separation, whether this is in a base class, whether this is in a derived class, etc. Okay, don't mix and match and use it there. Okay, now other thing is that, derivative class always depends upon the base class, but base class should not depend upon the derivative class. If something else is there, so a base class should not be aware about the derivatives. The derivatives, if they are aware about the derivatives, if they want to use something in the derivatives, then that is a long way of designing a particular application. So higher level base class concepts can be independent of the lower cases. Therefore, when we say base class, mentioning the names of the derivative. So if in any base class, if you see some of the derivative names are actually mentioned, then it should be a problem. It's a bad designing problem. Okay. So this is a general case. Base class basically should know nothing about their derivatives. Then too much information. Okay. Well-defined modules have very small interfaces. So if you look into the interfaces, we have learned what is an interface in last classes. So interfaces is nothing but the public methods and attributes of a particular class, if you look into the object-oriented way. So a module also similarly will have some kind of interfaces. So what is a public-facing interfaces, whether that is an API, whether that is some kind of methods, whatever it is. So all those interfaces should be minimum. You should not expose too much interfaces for the user and make it very complicated out there. So purely defined modules have wide and deep interfaces that force you so many different gestures to get simple things done. So I will have it very few functions to depend upon. So this thing. So basically we'll look into what is coupling also. Coupling means nothing but there are two modules. I want to couple that thing. So that's what the term coupling is, that we will look in that into in the next class, coupling and cohesion kind of things. So coupling is basically how you are making these two modules put together, how they are communicating is there. Okay. So if the coupling is low, means that the communication between these two things are well defined, then that is not a problem. If coupling is so high, I cannot actually differentiate. I cannot modularize those two things. Okay, so that's how it depends. We'll look into details on that coupling part. So, but remember that a well-defined interface does not offer very many functions. So many functions it will not offer. So coupling is low. So how I am connecting with that thing is low. That is a good design actually. A poorly defined interface provides a lot of functions and you must go. So the coupling is high because you are coupled with a lot of functions. It's hard for you to change the particular module also. Other principle is that hide your data, hide your utility functions. Don't expose these utility functions because you can put a wrapper and give that thing. Hide your constants and temporaries, but whatever the temporaries or the constants or your utility functions or your data, you make sure that you hide it. Okay, and don't create classes with lots of methods and lots of instance variables. We have seen some of them also because it's huge actually. Okay, don't create a lot of protected variables and functions for your subclasses. You know what is a protected variable? Protected variable, it can be used by the subclasses also. It's not a public, it's not a private, but it's a protected class. So don't create a lot of protected classes so that you can your subclasses also uses. You can use it, but very few. And concentrate on keeping interfaces very tight and very small. So this is also very important. Whenever you are designing some kind of modules or some kind of classes or whatever it is, make sure that your interfaces are very tight and very small. And keeping coupling low by limiting information. This also we have seen. Another thing is dead code. Dead code means what? A code that doesn't get executed is a code that doesn't get dead code. Now you find the body of an if statement and checks for a condition that can happen. Okay, you also may have seen a lot of things that if something happens, but that something never happens actually. Okay, so I would say that if I write something like that, if 100 is greater than 200, this never happens. So whatever written in this thing is that I can call it as a dead code because this will never happen. So this is a very simple thing, but there are, if you look into the programmatic way also, there are some places that will never happen. So because if you write some codes after return command, okay, that will never execute it. So that also you can call it as a dead code. So dead code is the code that never going to be executed. So if you find some kind of dead codes, okay, catch block also, and try that never throws. Okay, try catch never throws any kind of exceptions, and you have a catch block. You have written a lot of things in that catch block, but that is also a dead code. Okay, and some of the utility methods that is never called. Okay, or some of the switch cases that never occur. Okay, so what happens? But the problem with this dead code is that after a while it starts to smell. Okay, the older it is, the stronger the smell. Actually, the bad smell that comes from that particular thing becomes very much thing. So you look into that thing, you remove those codes. If the smells in the kind of that thing, that it will read you, it will have a lot of problems in maintaining extendable, all those things. Okay, so the dead code also is very, very problematic. So when you find the dead code, what you have to do, give a decent burial, delete it from the system. You don't require it, forget it, that your source control system will always remember that what you have deleted. So make sure that you have a source control system before that, otherwise it will be a problem. So if you have a source control system, don't worry about it, delete it. Okay, and vertical separation. So vertical separations means variables and functions should be defined close to where they have used. I have seen local variables are declared very things. So just before using that variable I have created. Instead, I can keep all those things in a small places also. Like a lot of people are doing a lot of kind of way they are programming. So what is a general rule is that local variables should be declared just about their first usage. So instead of declaring all the variables, all the local variables at the first stage itself, you declare the variables just above their first usage and should have a small vertical scope. All the local variables will have a small scope only. We don't want local variables declared 100 lines of distance from the usage. I create a variable here in day. Okay. Then after a lot of places I'm using A10. So that is not required. You can create here itself and do it, because this is a local variable. Local variable may be local to that particular method, local to that particular block also. Okay, so don't declare at the top beginning and make sure that you are using it in the bottom of this. So wherever you are using local things, so instead of here, you use it here itself in there. Okay, private function.
This actually we are normally using, I guess.
So some of places we are using normally, but generally some people also keeping all the variables at the top and then write code things, because they know there is somebody says that also, then I can understand what all variables I'm using. But for local variables, this is a disaster. Right. Yeah. So private functions should be defined just below their first usage. So whenever it is going to use, you use before that. So whenever I found a private function, I can go to that function also. Currently, this is not that much this thing, because almost all IDEs you can just click on go to that function directly itself. But it's good actually to keep it, because when I'm reading through some kind of code readers, it will be helpful other than IDEs. So private function should be defined just below their first usage. Private functions belong to the scope of the whole class, but we would still like to limit the vertical distance, because private, if you look at the private function also, the scope is entire class, but I want to keep that nearer to my first usage thing. So whenever I find a private function, I can just scroll down and see that function and understand whatever is required, and I can come back also. That is a whole point in that. Another thing is that inconsistency. So what is inconsistency? If you do something in a certain way, do similar things in the same way. This belongs to principle of least surprise. So like we discussed, the fetch, get, or get, fetch, retrieve kind of things. So whenever you stick to something, you stick to that thing also. Okay. So somewhere this also, I am a variable I am naming as HTTP servlet response. Then the same variable name consistently use. Don't go and use some other name in something. Somewhere I use this as a response, HTTP servlet response. Then somewhere I will go and do some other naming like that. Don't do that. So whenever we have the thing, be very consistent. Okay. So it will be easier. I need not guess it. Okay. And cluttering means that if there is a default constructor, we know what is a default construction. With no implementation, we actually don't need it. We can delete it also. Okay, because it will clutter your things if it is not using. Okay, and there are some variables, functions that is never called, comments that adds no information, and so all those things will clutter your code. So that also you can you can remove it. Okay, so the important thing is that keep your source files clean, well organized, and free of clutter. Okay, I want to easily read it. It should be a book which are more like a cartoon book or something like that. I should be able to read it and enjoy it. That's where the life of viewers and your peers will make it. And some kind of other things is the artificial coupling. So artificial coupling is that I'm coupling, but these two modules coupling, we say what is coupling. So we have an artificial coupling because this doesn't have no direct purpose to contact. Okay, so some temporarily we, for the convenience, we use that kind of coupling. We don't require that thing, but because that module have that data, I'm going to get that data from there. Okay, so this is very lazy, I would say, and this is very careless also, because you are taking something from that module, which is actually you can define yourself also, because that coupling is not required actually with that. So if you put across calling that thing, automatically the coupling comes for those modules. So I want to reduce those coupling. So what I will do, sometimes I can recreate here itself, because the coupling you need to avoid it. Okay, so you take time to figure out what all functions, what all constants you need to write, what all variables need to be declared, how you are writing, what the names that you can give. So you take time, don't just jump everything and write it across. Okay, where you are going to write, right? That is also very, very important. Okay, where you are going to write is also very, very important. And if you say selector arguments, like we said, the false argument at the end of the functions, right? What it means. So return false, return true, etc. Right? So this also a large function into the, also I can add that arguments also I am passing some functions, that's also we discussed, right? So this also becomes a lazy programming, and you want to avoid that. You don't have a large function, split it up. All right. Then obfuscate intent. So intent, we clearly told that intent should be very, very much revealing. So whenever we say that, it should be intent revealing. Okay. So this we said, run-on expressions, Hungarian notation, magic numbers. We should avoid it actually. So suppose I have a functions like this. Okay. This is very, very, very weird actually. I don't want to use this kind of things. But what you say 400 is there. I don't want to use those kind of things. Instead of 400, I can easily create an enum and say what is this 400 and all those. So this kind can create as a magic number, because I thought that okay, everybody remembers what is this 400, because you may be knowing, but other people may not be knowing it. Then misplaced responsibility. I'm going it a little bit faster to cover it up. So I hope anywhere you find it out some difficulties, please post me. Okay. Anyway, I know that just through going through these things, you may not be aware fully. This is a thing you need to practice and make it as a habit in your life. So it will take some time, I know, but let's go through these details. Then we will come back. It will take some time for you to practice also. Okay. So one of the most important decisions of a software developer is where to put the code. Okay. So for example, where should pi constant go? Where I am going to create it? Should it be in the math class, or perhaps in the trigonometry class, or maybe in the circle class? I have a pi, where I will declare it. So whenever you feel that where I should declare this particular functions. Okay. So the principle of least surprise comes to here. Code should be placed where a reader should naturally expect it to be. So if I declare something, all other readers who comes into this particular code should actually expect that okay, this will be here. So where you have to put that code is, the code should be placed where a reader would naturally expect it to be. So if whether you put it in circle class, there is no hard code logic, but you have to ensure that your code all your variables, all those things, constants or whatever it is, put at the right place. Okay, so sometimes we get very clever and we put out a certain functionality, but that will really trouble us. Even the reader will not think like that. Okay, and another thing is that inappropriate static. Okay, so what is a static function? You know, all right, static function at the class level function. So static methods, if I am using, so this is a static method. Max is a static method on the Max is a static method on the math class. So it's a good static method. So it does not operate on a single instance. I don't want, because math I want to find the maximum of 2 numbers. So this is always have a 2 variables, and I don't want to have a dot max dot b like that. It's not like that. So this is a good example of static one. However, we should, when we are writing static things, we need to take care that whether we require that static really, or we are just assuming that this should be static methods. So in general, you should prefer non-static methods. Okay, so when in doubt whether I should use static, why it is static, why it is not static, just for the sake of some kind of interest parts, you don't make something as a static. So whenever you are in doubt, make the function non-statics. And if you really want to make it static, make sure that there is no chance that you will want to behave it polymorphically. So we said that polymorphism is multiple things. So if you make it static, don't make it as a polymorphic thing. So I have only one thing only. So then I will make it as a static thing. And explanative. So if you look into these programs, okay, the first we started is that we want to make the program what do you say, readable. So for readable, I have to make the meaningful names. Okay, so whenever I am giving, say here, if you look into that, I have given key, value, etc. So this is very, very, very clear actually. What is key, what is value? Instead of if I say A, B, this is gone case. I don't know what is A and what is B. For looking into this, I don't know whether that is a key or whether that is a value. So first I am matching with the key, then I am matching with the value. So I know that this is a key, this is a value. It's more clear on that. So you use the explanatory variables. So look at this code. This is a date, new date. This is adding 5. So what it is doing, whether it is adding 5 days or 5 weeks or 5 hours, we don't know, right? So I cannot tell that whether this is adding a particular or whether this is adding basically this date variable is a variable actually, and whether I'm adding to that variable or it is returning a new variable, those things you don't know. So this doesn't have clarity actually, whether I'm adding and all those. So you have to make sure that you are if you look into that implementation of that function, we should know that what it does. It does not say that it's do something and goes something else. Okay, so should be very, very clear that whatever you are doing. Okay, so basically you understand the algorithm. Actually, algorithm in the sense that it's not the algorithm like search function, sort function, etc. It's basically whatever you are writing, there is an algorithm for that. You have writing different cases. So we write very funny cases because we are not taking time to understand what is the logic or what is the algorithm into that. Okay, just something if flags whenever we try to do the coding, so we get some if statements, flags, and what is really going on, we don't know. We writing a lot of codes like that. So programming is often an exploration in the things that you think you know the right algorithm, but you take it, you find it out, you fiddle with it, you prod it, you poke it until you get it work. Okay, you make sure that this is working very, very, very actually accurately, even the boundary cases also, all those things that we said. So, and just I have seen some people also when we say that there is an issue, okay, you go to search it on our Google or some other internet platforms. maybe Stack Overflow, something like that. I got some code, right? And then what I did, I copied and put it in, paste into this thing, and this worked very, very good. Actually, I don't know, but this thing, I don't know actually how it works, right? I have seen a lot of developers like that. I don't know, I get this code from Stack Overflow, I got this code from searching in Google. I just pasted it, it's worked perfectly. It may not be perfectly because something else may be there, because that whoever written that code may not be think about your algorithm. They don't know your business use cases, so they may have written for some other purpose, but you are using it, fine, well and good. But whenever you are using, you should understand what is the algorithm, what it does actually, then whether this will really give me the thing. So without knowing this kind of understanding the algorithms, if you do it, it's become a very big problem. The smells will come out from your code. So often the best way to gain the knowledge and understanding is to refactor. You try to refactor the function, then clean it, express it. And so the refactoring is a very, very important activity in your daily life. Always you want to refactor things. And logical dependency is physical. Okay, so what is a logical dependency and what is a physical dependency is that, say I am assuming something. Assumptions are basically your logical dependency rather than the exact dependencies. Okay, so I am expecting, so if this is the case, this is a class, okay, this is an hourly reporter class, okay, I have a page size of 55. So I am assuming that this is a page size is 55, but we have another class which is called hourly report formatter. So who should take this kind of page sizes? I need not assume that page size will be always 55. I should actually delegate these things to formatter things. So for me, actually getting the data and giving to the formatter for formatting or printing it, the size of the page and all other things should be decided by the formatter. So if I'm doing like this, this is kind of a logical dependency. So I'm assuming it, the page size may be 55. So this also run into problems in future. And this we will try it out possibly in next class. Polymorphism to if and else switch cases. So most people use switch statement because it's obvious brute force solution. I have a 10 situation, I have to say just write switch case. This is not the right solution. So whenever you have switch statements, you make sure that the switch statements you can use this for functions, not for types. Earlier we used this thing, right? Switch employee types. But the problem is that with this is that for each type we are getting the code is getting changed, code is getting added, etc. So this is not a bad practice. Basically this is a bad practice if it is using for the types. If it is for functions, it's not that much bad, but finally those kind of scenarios are very less. That also we will look into. Okay, so the general rule is that like this, there may not be not more than one switch statement for a given type selection. So we have writing a lot of switch cases for a given type of selection. Okay, and you can use as a polymorphic objects also and replace it. You can put it into some other objects and use those objects as a use those methods as a reuse it in other places rather than everywhere you go and replicate this kind of switch cases, because it's very hard to maintain these kind of switch cases. Okay, if you require, you put it across in one place only and reuse it. Then follow standard conventions. Okay, this is also very big thing, because you have to start the common industry norms, the coding standards, how you name the variables, what type of like we will discuss about all those things, cases, camel cases, dash cases, all those things we will discuss. This thing you have to store it. Everyone in the team should follow these conventions once it is ready. Okay, so this is also very interesting statement, the last one. This means that each team member must mature enough to realize that it doesn't matter where you put your braces. So braces, I can put it here. If you look into Java, I can put it here, or I can use it like this in another line, right? So this may be your coding style, but the company is following this standard. You should be mature enough to switch to this, because this doesn't matter. This will benefit the company. Then you should definitely mature enough, because I said you are a professionals. So you should mature enough to put it like this. So this also we have discussed, like magic numbers, line pages, etc. Replace all those things. Another thing is be precise. So whatever you do in code, make it very precisely. So even if somebody comes and asks you why you have written like this, you should have the answers. Okay, be very, very precise what you are doing. Whether you are doing it exception, whether you are doing it, whether you are doing it in namings, etc. Very, very precise actually. Okay, so so then it's actually everybody will actually give you ambiguities. There is no ambiguities in his code, his or her code actually. Okay, so you think through those codes, you understand the code, and then you are doing it. So even if somebody comes and review your code, or even if somebody comes and question your code, you can definitely defend it. All right. Or okay, if the problems are there, you can change, go and change it. But why I have done, you will always have a justification. Not just that I thought like that though, so I give. I have heard a lot of comments from the developers also in review. This is how the other programmer has done, so I followed the thing. I copied from there and pasted it. So don't be lazy like that. Be very precise. Whenever somebody comes and asks you why you have written like that, you should have an answer for that thing. Structure our conventions. Every design decisions, so there is a structure actually. So structure, you have to enforce it. Okay, so naming conventions are good, but are inferior to structures that was complained. So structures we will look into, like that switch and cases, because this we need to put it into abstract classes and base classes. That is a best thing. Okay. So and so what happens is switch cases. If you use the switch cases, everybody may have used different switch cases for different things. But for the, if it's used in abstract classes, everybody has to use the same way only, same method only. Okay. Now encapsulate conditionals. So Boolean logics, if else conditions, all those things you have to encapsulate it somewhere and put it across. Okay. So instead of this code, I have a lot of conditions in that if code. I put that into a particular method, and I'm going to use that thing, should be deleted. So this is more clear. Instead of timer has expired or timer has recurrent, all those things, it's very hard to read also, and it's hard to maintain also, and it violates a lot of design principles also. So you move into, it should be deleted, timer, then this is more relevant. And negative conditionals. So I will come into directly into this thing. So instead of you say negative and not, so this becomes positive. So instead you write like this, because this is more complicated. Everybody is looking into that kind of positive. So whether this should combat or should not combat, not equal to should not combat, like that. Instead of, you can write a should combat only. So basically you focus on the positivity. So that's how we think. And function should do one thing. This we have discussed also. If a function does more things, it's very difficult for them. For example, this function, what it does actually, three things basically. It loops over all employees here, checks to see whether each employee ought to be paid. If it is ought to be paid, yeah, then pays. Okay, so three things this particular function is there. This I can reduce to more functions. So simply I am saying it's loops and say pay if necessary. And what is pay if necessary is doing? It says that pay if necessary, just take if it is paid a, then calculate and deliver pay. And what the calculate and deliver pay is doing, it's actually paying only. It's not checking anything, it's actually paying only. So whenever you write functions like this, it is very easy maintainable also. And this is doing if you look into each and every function, it is doing one thing also. And there is only one reason for changing that things also. So this is not actually violating all the principles. And hidden temporal couplings. Okay, some kind of somewhere we need to use a temporal couplings, but we should not actually hide it, right? Okay, so that coupling and all those things will come into later, but just remember. So structure the arguments of your functions such that order in which they should be called is obvious. So somewhere you have the order is very, very important and all those things. So the coupling is very important. Coupling part we will discuss those things. And don't be very arbitrary. This is more like structure of the code. Structure appears arbitrary, other will feel like that. Okay, so consistency is the key, and clarity is the key. That you have to always remember whenever you are doing the code or whenever you are designing some kind of code. And encapsulate boundary conditions. So boundary conditions are hard to track of it. So I'll come into this thing. So if you look into these things, what is a boundary? Boundary is level 1, level plus 1. So this is, if you write like that, this conditions is very difficult. So instead what I did, I changed to next level, level plus 1. Then I am using this next level here instead of level plus 1. So if the boundary I rename to level plus 2, I need not go every places and change it. I can just change it at the one place only. So you encapsulate. Encapsulate means that you put it across and put it in one place and reuse it. And the function should descend only one level of abstraction. So so statement, this also we have seen a lot of places we have seen like calling this. So if size is greater than 0, I am calling something append, etc. So instead of, I can put the abstraction here, okay, and I say that if the size, I put the extra dales is greater than 0, I'm doing one thing, and this particularly put it into another function. So this is an abstraction. So if you look into this code, this is not much cluttery, right? This is very precise, very small, rather than this one. So function should descend only one level of abstraction. So keep configurable data at the high levels. So there are a lot of high level configurations are there, which is maybe the application level, module level, etc. That all those things you keep at the higher level, not at the lower level. Okay, and you expose that as an argument to the lower level functions. So the transitive navigation means, in general, I don't want to single module to know much about its collaborators. So suppose A collaborate with B and B collaborate with C. We don't want A to know about C. A is collaborating with B, B is collaborating with C, but we don't want A to collaborate with the C, if not required actually. So for example, I don't want A dot get B dot get C to do something. Those kind of collaborations we need to avoid it out there. So I need not, if I get a function, I need not guess all other collaboratives it's do with some other functions and use that thing. That may not be good thing. Okay, so this is called a law of Demeter. So there is an interesting book called Programmatic Programmers. It's called as writing shy code. Okay, so make sure that these modules know each other. What they exactly want to know, they can know it. And these are very quickly I will go through. These are what we have discussed, is that descriptive names. Don't be too quick to choose a name. Make sure the name is descriptive. Remembering the means tend to drift as software develops. So frequently reevaluate the proprietary of the name. So it's not that I gave name once and then I forget it. Okay, the power of carefully chosen names is that they overload the structure of the code with the description. So you need not put any comments over it. Okay. Abstract level. So where you are putting the variables that have lot of importance to the naming conventions. Okay, so don't pick names that communicate implementation. Choose names that reflect the level of abstraction and class you are working in. So if you look into this modem, okay, so I have a Boolean dial. So dialing is an implementation. So modem is that, you know what is a modem. Earlier modems were dialing modems. Okay, currently there is no dial-up modems. All are this connected through all other data cable, etc. Right. So instead of dial, I can use connect. right? Dial is an obsolete word. Nobody is dialing up the modem right now. You are just using the connection. So you can rename it to connection, more generic names you can give rather than the implementation name. So dialing up is an implementation name. So that also you can go and refactor in future. So use standard nomenclature wherever it's possible. Okay. So if you are using this kind of patterns, decorator patterns, the word decorator can be applied to the classes also because it's a nomenclature. Okay. So unambiguous names. So this also we look at a lot of things into here. So say if you see the do rename function here, we have a rename page also. So what exactly this do rename key? This is basically there is some kind of ambiguity is there. So I can rename like this so that there is no ambiguity. It says a renaming page and optionally all other references. So if the scope is long, you use long names. Okay. So if the scope is less, you can use IJs. Even if just a minute. If the variables are IJ, like I am putting it in a for loop, for int I equal to 0, this is okay because I'm just using that in that loop only. Okay, so the scope is only limited to this particular block, right? So whenever it is shorter, this is okay. I can use IJK, but even if this is very bigger, I can give proper name also. Instead of I can say count or whatever it is. So IJK, ZK, I have seen a lot of inner loops also, 4, 1, 4, 1, 4. Somewhere I use I, somewhere I use JK, etc. Then finally, God knows what we need, what we have given this thing kind of things. Okay, so longer the scope of the name, the longer and precise the name should be, because the lot of people will be using that kind of thing. And I said the avoid encodings. So basically these are useless right now. Okay, so today's environment provide all the information, and I'm clicking that variable, it gives all the information to this Hungarian pollution, that you can avoid this Hungarian kind of notations. Okay, and name should be descriptive, function, variable, class. Don't hide side effects. Okay, so the verb, basically simple verb, right? So some Java also somewhere I'll quickly go into. So I know the time is gone. So we can use this import package instead of, if I am using 10 packages, I can, instead of giving 10 import package dot method 1 package dot method 2, instead I can use this package dot star also. This is also, this will make instead of 80 lines imports, I can make it 1 line only. So wildcard imports sometimes can cause name conflicts. That is also in some places we may have to go into individual things, but generic rule is that use this wildcard imports. Okay, and constants you don't inherit it. Okay, so this test I am giving, I'm just giving it. So the codes, the things that I would recommend you people to read, most of the things I have taken from the book code, Clean Code from Robert Martin. So this is a very good book. Even if you get these books, ebook or actual copy of this book, go and read it. Read it over and over and over and again, because this will take some time to understand. This will take some time to practice also. Another good book on this is not just on the clean code, it's mostly on the refactory, but here only he has mentioned the refactoring things. So these are the some of the references, because I know in one section I can bombard with you lot of knowledges, lot of practices, etc. But mostly it will go through your head. I will share the PPT, go through the PPT, read these books if possible, and try to implement one by one. Okay, you may not be implement everything together, but try to implement one by one. So another good thing I have found is that refactoring guru. one particular this thing. So a lot of code smells it's explaining here. Okay, which with much details also have not gone through all those things. So these are the basic things into clean coding and all other stuff. So any questions from your side?
No, sir.
Nothing.
Nothing.
Okay, so whether this is informative, whether this is useful for you people, I don't know how much you grasp on all those things, because it's mostly one way.
Yes, so much. Actually, I was planning to do a rework of what I'm doing now.
Okay.
Rewrite my class, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So these concepts will help you definitely on that part. Okay. So before doing, please go through, if possible, you get this book or some kind of ebook also. But I'm fine with that. But you go through those things. Okay. So it will take a little bit practice from our side also to have this thing, because refactoring is one area. A lot of thought process has gone through on this thing. That's what.
Yes.
Okay, thanks, Ashwati.
Thank you so much, Vasan.
Thanks. Anybody else? Unnu, Sangamesh, I don't know how much you have grasped on this. Ashwin.
Yeah, it was useful actually. I commented some codes that are of no use because I'm afraid to delete. Okay, first thing I have to do it, I have to delete some codes there. And then regarding the commenting portion, which you said now, replace parameter, what input it is saying, I usually do it. Okay, so actually it is not of use, because from the function itself we may understand what it is used for. Similarly, so some common mistakes that we do are really in this presentation. And it is
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So this is just a pointers out there, what you can do better and all those things.
Yes.
So you have to practice it. Otherwise, there is no use.
Yes.
Yeah. Anybody else? Ashwin? Sangamesh?
Not much, Sreekanth.
Okay. Anybody else who has joined? Shiva Prasad, John?
Sir,
Yeah.
Sir, actually, some linting packages are available in modern languages, right? So some of the rules would be told by the package itself or by the IDE itself, right?
Yeah, so some of them are supported by IDE, or there are some other tools also where it will review your code and it will tell all those things.
Yeah, if there is a dead code, it will show it's
yeah,
of no
definitely,
use,
definitely.
like.
Even IDEs itself is showing these dead codes, or even it is some these IDEs are intelligent enough that this is not called anywhere, so it will show in a different color, right? So if it is somewhere it is a reference, it will show it in an active color. Otherwise, it's a disabled color. You can look into that thing. So those you have to closely watch if you are using all these IDs. You can easily get into all those things. Even duplication also, as I said, it shows in IntelliJ IDEA. It shows in small lines. It shows, and whenever I put a mouse pointer over there, it says that the code is duplicated.
Yeah, in VS Code also there are
VS
so
Code
many
also.
extensions.
So Visual Studio also very much actually a lot of functionalities it supports. These are very advanced IDEs right now. Not just this, lot of other IDEs also come across with a lot of advanced features. That's what they claim that. I would always suggest the programmers to start with the terminal programming or the not using Notepad and all those things. But on professional things, never use all those things. Use only these kind of IDs. That will definitely boost your productivity and definitely will help you to reduce a lot of errors.
Sir, also I would like to have a session on this TDD because I don't know how to write.
Definitely. That we can arrange it on the TDD. Yeah. So thanks. Anybody else there? Shiva Prasad?
Yes, sir. The class was very much informative. Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks. So I hope we will see in the next session.
Yes, sir.
Right? Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you all. Good day.
Thanks, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye, Sreekanth.
Bye.
Have a good day.